And we are live, folks. Welcome to the Sit Down Standard, the podcast celebrating all the amazing things you can do while sitting, whether it's enjoying movies, watching television, or playing games. I am one of your hosts, David Bray. I'm joined, as always, by Gerald Bales.
Hi.
And Jordan Peterson.
That's a Mr. Jordan Peterson to you.
And special guest, Sara Flores Bales.
Hello.
We always bring her back. Why?
I know, why?
Because she's the only entertaining one. No, because this is our second Disney episode. This is going to be our modern Disney.
And it's not even the last Disney episode either.
No.
I don't even know if it'd be considered modern. I mean, I want it to be modern, but if it's not including Pixar.
Yes.
Well, that's for another day, though.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, in this episode,
Pixar
what we're
is
going to go over is basically we stopped in our last Disney episode, which we all encourage you to go check out. We went from essentially the inception of Disney to about 1989, so we'll pick up right there at 1990. And then we'll go through to current, but we're going to avoid any Pixar movies. So, because we're going to have a separate episode for Pixar. They deserve
it.
Yeah, definitely.
And plus, we need to keep bringing Sara back. It's in her contract. She signed at least 5 episodes.
I'm not getting paid enough for this. I need to up
Wait,
my
you're getting
contract.
paid?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm getting paid.
All right, but before we get into all that, a couple things. One, we want to tell people, if you're listening to the audio version of this, go to YouTube. What are you doing?
Yeah, you 150 subscribers.
You're getting half the experience. And also, we broadcast the podcast live on Periscope, so you can go on Periscope. Follow us on Twitter. That's the easiest way to find out when we do it.
Oh, the Grams. We're on the Grams.
Yep, we're on the Instagrams, and then that way we do live Q&A before the show. So
we have thousands of Instagram followers.
We have thousands.
If only half of them
That's
could watch
awesome.
our actual show. That'd be great.
But anyways, before we get into anything else, we're going to start with what we always start with. Oh, what you doing? Oh, what you doing? What you doing? Ba-da-da-da-da. Thank you. I was waiting for someone to chime in.
We have
here.
instruments in the corner.
I kind of wanted you to just leave you hanging, but I couldn't do it.
Thanks. Speaking of, let's start with Gerald. No. Ladies first. Sara, what you doing?
I've done a whole lot of nothing this week.
Awesome.
That's actually my favorite thing to do while sitting down.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Nothing.
So what's interesting is another thing that you could do while you're sitting down is, and it's so boring, I know, but you could crochet or knit.
Hey.
So I'm currently working on a blanket for my mother for Mother's Day.
Aw, spoiler alert.
It's very labor intensive. No, she already knows. I sent her a picture.
Oh, okay.
But it's very labor intensive, and I had originally bought 5 balls of yarn. I knew that they wouldn't be enough, but I figured when I get to that point, I'll just go out and buy some more, so that way I can kind of gauge of how much more I'll need.
Did you get like this far?
Close, almost. But so I went to the store. And we're standing in line, and I realize these are not the same color. And I'm like, am I going crazy? Because it's the same brand. It says that exact color, but they're not the same color.
Right.
So I was just like, okay, well, let me take these. Let me see if I can work it in. Try to work it in. You could tell that they're 2 completely different colors. I get mad. I tweet about it. Red Heart Yarn Soft has not gotten back to me yet, by the way.
How dare you.
Yeah, so
Get off my lawn, Red Yarn Soft.
Exactly.
They have different Malaysian kids making the yarn now, so
I guess,
they
or
put a little
something.
bit too much of the green dye in this time and it ruined the color.
I'm like kind of mad now because I'm like, okay, I can at least do it so far, but I need that color back. Like I need to finish this. I'm so close to finishing it. So then I have to go out of my way to go to 2 stores, to talk to 2 cashiers who don't know what they're doing, to do a return, and to do a price match, all just to get the color that I needed. And it's so unnecessary. Why? I
don't know. I know when I bought, when we refloored the house, a big thing is the tile. Well, they use like different dye packs, like, so they do actually look different. So like but this is I guess the issue. You have to buy all your yarn. You have to buy too much.
At the same time.
Because it will change color, slightly variations. The same thing in tile. Because I remember I was like, oh, we're just going to do like the kitchen area and the front room. And the guy was like, no, if you're going to do tile, do all of it at once because they do slightly change color.
At least buy it all at once.
Yeah. And he's like, you can return it. That's the mistake. You're going to have to make 2 trips anyways. So just might as well buy too much and then return what you don't use.
Yeah, that was a rose in 2007 color. 2010 rose is totally different. You got to upgrade.
I did the crocheting when I was a kid. I made like a basketball rug.
Really?
You put like the little loop in and you pull it through, right? Is that crocheting? I don't know. It was like this little hand tool that you use. I don't know.
Did you know knitting and crocheting are not the same thing?
Yeah, they're not. No.
Crocheting's one needle, knitting's 2.
I had no idea. My aunts, I have some
It is
I have
very
some great
offensive.
aunts, and one of them crochets, and the other one's like, I don't know how to crochet. I knit, and she's just like, doo-doo, getting at it. And I'm just like,
Yes, it's very
just
offensive.
assume they're the same thing.
I am what they call bistitual.
Nice.
Yeah, so I can do both. I can do crocheting and knitting, but it is very much offensive when somebody calls it one or the other. Like,
Bistitual.
you give them something that was crocheted. They're like, oh my God, that knitting is amazing. And you're like, you idiot. That's not what that is. But big companies are, unfortunately, they do the exact same thing. You'll see a product that is obviously crocheted, and it'll be like knitted hand whatever.
Right,
and you're like,
hand knitted.
no, it's not.
Yeah, but us normals,
Yeah,
we don't know. Us
Normies.
us non-bistituals don't know the difference. I'm just like, how does it feel? It's soft. Okay, good.
Yeah, I wouldn't know if it's even if it was used a machine or hand or unless it tells me. And I don't understand the benefit when something's hand stitched. I'm like, that means it's probably not as good. Like the machines,
Those machines do it way better.
Machines do a way better job. I don't need somebody's hands. Plus, it's probably some 5-year-old's hands.
Good point. All right, Jordan, since you showed up late, what you doing?
Thanks. Showed up late. Come on, I was on time for the podcast.
That's true.
I showed up late for the Q&A. Yeah, so I've been ramping up for, I've been moving.
Yes.
So I got the storage unit, got everything ramped out next weekend. Couldn't do any of it this weekend, though, because the 1-year-old's birthday party.
Yes.
Way to go, 1-year-olds.
I know.
Couldn't have picked a worse time to
It
be.
was a horrible time to turn one. We also went live at work with a new project, and I needed to be there for that, but couldn't be because.
Well, then that worked out.
I mean, don't your kids have 2 parents? I mean, come on.
I know.
Do they need both there at the party at all
That's
times?
true.
No, but you guys
No, it was a
lived
cool
it up.
party.
It was a cool party. You guys had a taco bar.
We had a taco guy.
I wasn't invited. I
Serve it
wouldn't
up.
know.
Sorry, buddy. I spared you. Everyone I didn't invite, I spared you from sitting around while 1-year-olds napped in the other room.
Happy birthday!
It was a
Yeah.
lot of excitement for them. So
Yeah, no, they did. They had to take a nap. Well, we try. You can schedule all you want for 1-year-olds. They do what they're going to do. So they
sense,
woke
makes
up
sense.
at
So
like.
you don't understand. We have a meet and greet at 2 p.m. Wake up.
Right. So yeah, they woke up really early and they napped early, and then it was just like, oh great. They actually did really well for
Yeah.
what we thought would happen. They were actually really good. They napped for like an hour in the middle of the party, but other than that, they were up and awake and happy and having a good time. Thank you for the cool gift, David.
yes,
What'd you get?
we got
little
hand puppets.
And like right when I gave one to Haley, she started like kissing it, and she
That's
was
awesome.
the lion. Yeah.
We got there was a
She
lion
cute.
one, and we bought it. And I went up to the cashier. I was going to make a joke, but then I told Alyssa the joke. She's like, "Don't you do that?" And I want to tell everybody the joke. So I was going to go up to the
Here we go.
cashier, and I was going to be like, "Do you think this is a good gift for a 1-year-old?" And of course she'd be like, "Yes." I'd be like, "You're not lying, are you?"
Stupid.
I told
Thank
Alyssa-
you, Alyssa, for
like,
sparing us.
Don't do that.
I don't know. That's a pretty funny joke.
I think so.
I mean, I would have rolled my eyes and been like, good one, bro. And that'll be $4.50.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I call him the lion, because it's a lion that's lying down and he's lying. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a fun time. A bunch of family and friends came in town.
Yeah.
So it was just big to do, because then at night we went over to her family's house and to do dinner, and then this morning breakfast with her fans. So it's just been busy. But yeah, looking forward to the big move next weekend. So
Yeah, I had
you
a
guys
question.
are free.
I had a question about the twins because we ran into this problem. We got them each, something, and then we put them in 2 different bags. And I was like, don't get the same color bag, get a different bag. But then when I was like, just put them in the same bag. But then we went and everybody split everything in 2. So it was just funny.
Yeah, yeah. And it was actually convenient when they had the same bag, because when I'm pulling the presents out to give them, you try and get them to open at the same time. I mean, they're not opening it. Me and my wife are opening them for them. But we try to open them at the same time so they don't, you screw up the surprise, because they're getting the same thing from most people. I mean,
Right.
it was cool that we got the elephant and the lion. And some people did that, but a lot of times it's just the exact same thing.
Right.
So, yeah, if it's in coordinating bags, it makes it a little easier.
Cool.
I don't really care. To be honest. I don't care.
And they're not going to remember.
I know. I mostly got them because I can see you doing the hand puppets.
Oh, it was fun.
See, I totally was like, yeah, we
no,
got
I totally enjoyed that present. I'm just like, woo! And I'd make the hands move and stuff. No, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, they got so much stuff. It was 45 minutes to an hour of opening presents.
Wow.
There was
Wow.
so
A lot of
much.
loot.
It was a lot of loot. And
Lot of
everybody's
loot.
like, oh,
Did you do an unboxing video?
right.
You should have. That would have been great.
How many pictures did you take?
That's always
I barely took any, because at a certain point I'm like, and here's my get off my lawn with these days. Everybody wants a million pictures of everything, and okay, we literally have, I think, 18,000 pictures of kids who are 12 months old. So you can do the math on that. And but we never look through them,
Of course, yeah.
ever.
You will at some point.
No,
Not all of
not
them.
when you have 100,000 by the time they're 2. It's not, you're never gonna be able to just search through all the pictures. So it's just live in the moment, enjoy yourself, have a good time. Take a couple at the beginning, couple at the end. Maybe I took some with my grandfather who's getting older, with the babies, stuff like that. That's important to me. But other than that, it's just enjoy.
7 pictures of each gift as they're opening it up and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
no, my sister-in-law did take some pictures with the camera, so they do have some pictures of the gifts and stuff. But either way, I just take a few so you remember remember the event, but you don't need to document every moment of the event.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it. Have a good time. And
Of course.
And then you'll remember it. When you look at the one picture, you'll go, oh, I remember that time because I wasn't sitting behind a camera and I have to live it through the camera every time. So it was a pretty good time. So, Gerald, what you doing?
I've been catching up on some Disney movies that we'll talk about. Played some Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider on Xbox One.
Yep.
That you let me borrow.
Yes.
Fantastic game.
Yeah, it was funny because you text me and you're like, have you played this yet? And I was like, no, I haven't gotten to it yet. You're like, it's really
amazing. One, like a lot of the sequences, like especially the opening sequence of the game is like an action movie. You gotta jump at the right times. You know what I'm talking about, like those kind of games. But like, this is the most gorgeous game I've ever played on Xbox One. Like, it's just beautiful. They really put a lot of like graphic fidelity into this game over any other game.
You should marry it.
I think David's rubbing off on you, bro. Yeah, you just said the word amazing. Do you know that?
Did I?
He said
No,
it's amazing.
the thing about this game, it released at the same time Fallout 4 did. So
Yeah, same
it
exact
suffered
thing.
it suffered a lot of just being overshot.
And they're both single player games, and they both have RPG elements because you can like upgrade your weapons, your different traits and stuff in Tomb Raider. So yeah, it's probably suffered of sales and stuff, but I knew I was gonna play both at some point.
No, I know, but I'm just saying generally, like in the video game world, because it's just so constant. And now it used to be, remember when we were kids, it was like the big video games came out during the holiday season. Now there's big games that release almost every month.
Yeah.
So you gotta really pick and choose. It's like premiering your movie against Star Wars Episode 7. Like, not a good idea. Just get out of the way. Right. Even if it was a couple months. And I remember leading up to the release of Rise of the Tomb Raider, there was a lot of speculation that they're gonna push it. There's no way they premiere on the same day as Fallout 4. You just don't do that. But in their defense, Fallout 4 essentially they showed it at almost the same time they said it was going to be released. So there was a lot of stuff that they couldn't have planned.
And not just that, but Xbox was pushing pushing Tomb Raider a lot because it's an exclusive to the Xbox One. At least it's a timed exclusive. I think it's going to come out in the other systems.
And they were bundling it with some of their holiday specials, so they couldn't push it really any farther.
And not just that, but like Fallout 4 is on other systems, right? So Tomb Raider is not. So for those hardcore Xbox One fans, they're going to obviously get this game. But I was telling Sarah they had this funny promotion in the UK for this game is they had like 6 contestants on a billboard outside and they threw different weather elements at them. So they had like a snow machine, they had a wind machine, they had a rain machine, and they live streamed it all on Twitch. And then the Twitch chat, the viewers would pick like, oh, we're going to give them rain. We're going to give them snow.
Oh, that's messed up.
Yeah, and the last person who stayed up there during like, how many hours of just standing won some prize or whatever. But it's funny because I was watching some of the stream and people were just like snow, rain, like all the crappy ones. And they had to end up doing like bigger breaks in between the seasons and all that kind of stuff to give them a little bit of a break so they wouldn't die of hypothermia. But yeah, it's just like weird marketing.
How long were they up there?
I don't know. A long time.
That's weird.
Like when I was watching it, there was 5 people left and it was like 6 hours in.
Jesus.
Was there a hot day option?
There was like there was like sun.
Nice sunny day, and nobody picked it ever.
I don't think nice sunny day, but just like, oh god, so hot, like 95 degrees or something like
Vegas sun, like 120.
Yeah, exactly.
Boiling in.
Yeah, just weird marketing. But other than that, the game's really good, single player, obviously. But it's really
Did you finish it yet?
No, I don't. No, I haven't finished.
So does it pick up essentially right after the new Tomb Raider game?
Yeah, it does.
A few years ago?
Right after.
Okay, so now she's a little bit more hardened. Because in the first game, there's a big sequence in which she kills somebody.
Right.
It's kill or be killed, and she kind of freaks out about it.
Yeah, there's bad guys. She's like, gotta kill him. It's not like a big moment. Yeah.
No, and I just meant it makes a lot of callbacks to the first game.
Yeah, the big Samoan guy. He's in this one too.
That's cool.
Yeah. So they do some callbacks, but it's still her following her father into what he was investigating, some prophet stuff. I don't want to get too much into the story, but yeah, it's really good.
Cool. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, I'll do my what you doing.
I was just waiting for you to be like, what am I doing? David, what you doing?
I went to a UFC fight. I went to
the fight.
Yeah, I went to
Was that like a board game?
Yeah, it's
UFC the board game.
Ultimate Fighting Champion, the board game. No,
I want to look at the girls' miniatures.
The ring girl walks around. Anyways, so I went to UFC 196, which was McGregor versus Diaz, and then you had the other big one was Holly Holmes, who recently beat Ronda Rousey and took her belt. She was fighting this girl named Miesha Tate, who is actually from Vegas.
Oh, cool.
So really good fight. It was a lot of fun. I think what I like about, I'm not a huge UFC fan. Like I enjoy it. Like if I'm over at someone's house and they got the pay-per-view on, like I enjoy it. But being at the actual event is a lot more intense, obviously, because you got 10,000 screaming people, but you also, the presentation that they do for these is fantastic. Like, I thought it was good on TV. Dude, they get you pumped, man. They play the right music. They do the right videos. DMX is actually the one who does the voiceovers. Yeah, exactly. 2 men enter. 1 man leaves. Yeah. And it's just, you are so hyped. And like, we were talking about it. We went to lunch earlier and we were like, I don't know, like, I'm not a violent guy. I don't like violence, but like, you put I'm just like, oh yes. Like the visceral, like,
I love watching the fights. Like, I don't follow it too, but if someone has it on, I'm in like, beat up his face, blood, yeah, come on.
It's just like it
the
reverts you.
barbarian
Yeah.
within you, you know?
Ugh.
Was it at MGM?
Yes.
Yeah. I had a totally different experience.
Where did you go?
Because I've watched the UFC fights on TV forever, right? And then I went to MGM for one of, but it was not a big name one.
Yeah.
It wasn't
just
like the main.
It was
fights.
like one of the smaller. It was like the, it had like 8 fights or whatever it was, but it wasn't like, something that had been amped up for forever. And I was like, I felt like it was a little bit of letdown. I was just like, huh. It's smaller than I thought. I was like, because it seems so big on TV.
Right.
It's like massive, and then I'm like sitting in there, I'm looking around, I'm like, I was like, oh, I think I saw like a concert here before. I don't know, it just didn't feel like the same intensity.
Maybe
that
they
it felt
don't put
on
it
TV.
up like for the smaller ones. They only do it up for like the big ones.
And there were a lot of empty seats for ours.
So they're like,
Because
"We're
it
not
wasn't
gonna
a
even
big,
try.
it wasn't a
There's
huge
nobody
fight,
there."
and so that's why I think made it feel less too. Because on the TV, like everything looks packed. They don't
only show
the
the crowds.
Yeah.
Right, they just show crowds. Of
They only show
people
like
just,
the lower
"Rah!"
deck. They don't show the upper
Right,
deck.
right. And where I was at, it was like seats
peasants.
everywhere. I was like looking around. I was like, yeah, go. All right.
You're the only guy in the rafters. Go!
Yeah. You got him. Keep it pinned. Watch the leg.
Sweep the leg. No, this was packed. I mean, at the beginning, because they have a full slate of fights, and I think there was probably about 10 or 12. But then the main card is like 5 fights, including the 2 main events, which was the 2 huge upsets. Holly Holmes lost. Essentially, she just got the belt like 3 months ago and then lost it, which sucks for her. But it was kind of cool. Because of her being from Vegas and stuff like that, the girl who won, Misha Tate, it was a great, and like, she won in like the last round with a submission. Like, she was not going to win if it went to decision. Like, it was so much fun. And we went with a couple, friends that we went with, and one person that went bet and put money on the 2 upsets. And both upsets happened. And he put like, I think like $20 in and won like over $300 or something crazy.
That's awesome.
So, and he was actually going to put in one for submission on both of them. And it was like, the odds were insane. He's like, that's never going to happen. They both submitted the underdog. I'm like, so it was kind of cool because when we got to the McGregor fight, which McGregor right now is probably the biggest UFC star. And like, I think they say he's the first one to probably make over $100 million as a UFC fighter, aside from like promotions and endorsements. But yeah, he lost. And like all the crap talking that he does, like he's known for that, which is fine. I enjoy that. Like, be the heel. Like, that's how you sell your brand.
Right.
But the other guy, Nick Diaz, was on that Ultimate Fighter challenge a few seasons ago.
Show, right?
Yeah, and he won, and he's kind of known for having a mouth. And somebody was supposed to fight McGregor for the belt, but backed out because I guess he broke his leg. And then this guy only had like 2 or 3 weeks to prepare for it, which he's like, I'm always ready to fight. Like, I get it. There's tons of different fighting styles. I'm going to offend a lot of people, but I'm like, aren't you just always ready to fight somebody? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
You're not gonna be like, gotta start working out, gotta fight in 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're always working out every single day.
I think it's like football though. You're preparing for the person you're gonna fight. You're gonna watch their old fights, see what they do. Are they a striker? Are they a ground and pound? You know?
Wow, you're like,
no, they do. It's just like different styles, and you need to know how to defend against it and stuff. And they'll talk about it all the time. They're like, oh, this guy's a striker, but if you get him on his back, he's done. So they prepare for this particular person. Not that they have to work out and like do some push-ups.
Didn't one of the guys jump like 3 weight classes for this fight?
McGregor, he was. I think he weighed somewhere around 140 something, and now he's like 160 something. So I mean, he jumped up a lot.
Fatty.
Yeah, it's funny too because I look at these guys and I'm like, oh, he weighs as much as me, and I'm like, yeah, but he's like
90% muscle.
Yeah, it is weird too, man. These guys, like some of these guys are you're just like, holy crap! Like the amount of. Because here's the thing: when they hit each other, it doesn't look that bad, but when they miss, you see like if that would have
effort.
Yeah, it's like,
punch.
oh my gosh, like I can't imagine it. I can't. I've been hit in the face a couple times. I couldn't do it. I would just go down immediately. But then they told me how much the winner or the loser of a fight in these main events get, and I was like, I'd do it. I'd take a I'd get punched right in the face by McGregor for $10 million. Yeah.
My favorite knockouts are body knockouts when they hit him like in
see
the
the rib
kidney
blows
and then
like
they
the-
just like fall over like they're dead. I'm like, that's the best. See him in the
Destroyed an
face,
organ in
you
one
hit him in
hit.
the face, like yeah, you're gonna get knocked out. Your head, you literally got wrung. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But when you can just get hit in the side and it's enough to take you down and you're done, like that's a powerful.
Internal bleeding.
that's what I'm talking about. That's a good fight.
That's what I didn't know. Speaking of internal bleeding,
Disney.
now since we're done with What You Doing, of course this is going to be our modern Disney episode. We already kind of talked about it at the beginning, but this is going to take place basically from 1990 to
Now, to Zootopia today.
Yes, and we're going to avoid talking about Pixar because I think
So Zootopia is not Pixar.
No.
no,
Disney animation.
we'll go through that.
Oh,
So let's start
I
first.
just assume anything computer animated is Pixar.
Nope.
And I think we did this in our first episode. The best way to go through this is kind of chronologically. We're not going to hit obviously all the movies because there's a ton of Disney movies, and
And a lot of bad movies. Too, that we
Yes.
just-
Live
not-
action.
we're not going to talk about what was the one with
Oh,
Paul Walker, Meet the Deedles.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about Meet the Deedles. Sorry, guys.
or White Fang with Ethan Hawke.
But let's start with.
Well, I think
go ahead.
we need some
What do you need? Context.
context.
Okay, so
She needs 30 minutes to talk about
Yes.
Mr. Disney.
Exactly.
Hold
so, okay, so 1970s, his brother dies, Roy Disney.
yeah,
Kind of the late 70s, early 80s, there were several companies that tried to buy out the Disney company. A little like maybe 1981 or somewhere around there, Eisner becomes the head of Walt Disney, and they decide, okay, no, let's just not
Buckle
be,
down and-
yeah, like let's not be bought by anybody, and let's buckle down and get more into our TV. Let's put a little bit more into our movies. So then that's when Disney started to come back. The first movie that put them back on the map was Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and then shortly after that came, like Oliver and Company, The Little Mermaid, and then kind of bringing the Renaissance
to its
period
Yeah.
to Disney, back to Disney.
And speaking of that, I watched a documentary which I recommend everybody watch. It's called Waking Sleeping Beauty, and it
Really good.
takes place. It's the discussion of 1984, like essentially Michael Eisner being hired with Jeffrey Katzenberg, I think is his name, to come in and kind of revolutionize what was going on because they were seeing a lot of decline in not just money but critical success and all those different things. And the budgets on these movies were getting insane because it was just, I mean, it's one of those things. If you're successful, you're like, we can't do anything bad. You know what I mean? Like our podcast. Like
Just keep
eventually,
throwing. Yeah, right, dude.
we can't make a bad podcast. So we just start putting out really bad stuff. But the big thing there was when they brought these guys in, they weren't animators. They didn't know, they were from other movie studios that were made successful movies. So it's kind of a shakeup. And I think there was a lot of ego, right, between Roy Disney and Michael Eisner and also this Jeffrey Katzenberg. I think his name's Jeffrey Katzenberg. Like they all wanted to be like they wanted to be Walt Disney, right? They wanted to be the figure of Disney. But in all of that, they saved the company. The thing that's really cool, when I was watching the documentary, they talked about every year they're going to put out one of these animated feature films, and they were asking Michael Eisner in an interview, you're losing money, like you're hemorrhaging hundreds of millions of dollars. Why are you doing this? He's like, because we have to, because that's what this company has always been and will always be. And Michael Eisner gets a lot of crap generally because he got pushed out towards the end, which we'll talk about. But but for him, this probably would have changed. They might have been bought by somebody because they were at a low point. But this
Yeah.
obviously is where the Renaissance.
Yeah, this
come
is
from.
kind of at a point where the Walt Disney Company was very lost after Walt died. They literally they were like, we don't know what to do with ourselves now, basically. And this was also kind of when the baby boomers were becoming like a lot older, and so now their kids were becoming teenagers, and they were just losing money. Like their movies weren't good enough anymore. They were losing money out to like people, to this large group of kids, for lack of a better word, who want to see teenage movies, and they want to see live action movies, and they want to see better TV shows, and Disney didn't fit any of those pockets
Until Eisner
anymore.
came in and
Yeah.
started to.
And when was this? Like late 80s? Is that what we're talking?
No, I'm like mid 70s, mid 80s ish.
Yeah, right before
Early
this big
80s-ish,
Renaissance period. And that's what, when they came in, Michael Eisner, Jeff Katzenberg, they were like, well, I'm not interested in winning an Oscar. Or, I'm interested in winning the Bank of America award. And all the animators, were like, we're artists. Like, we don't care about money. And it's that striking that balance of like, you have to make money to do these expensive $1 million pictures. Like, we don't just do this as like a service to the world.
Right.
So from that, we had Little Mermaid, which we talked about on the last episode, which is both a success in monetary as well as artistic, right? Everybody loved it. And then you have Beauty and the Beast, which is the first one that we highlighted on here. Couple things. I know that they went and even for Little Mermaid, they went and hired two, I guess it would be like not opera. What's it on Broadway? Broadway musicians to come in and write the music for this.
Alan Menken.
Yes, Alan Menken. So I remember in the documentary they talk about some of the classic songs that we all know and love. Like those were on the cutting room floor. Like they were like, get rid of it. Like the Part of Your World in Little Mermaid, they were like, get rid of it.
Really?
Yeah. They were like, it doesn't make sense. They showed it to people and they were like, kids didn't really like it. And it's just funny to see no, how could you? That is the quintessential movie. Yeah, or that's the song from the movie. And the same thing with Beauty and the Beast, right? There was a lot of stuff that they were potentially going to cut out of it. Originally he was supposed to be a little boy as a monster. Like he didn't turn into a beast at when he got older as a young man. He was like a little beast kid, and all the animators were like, we're not drawing a little wolf boy.
Technically, actually does make sense because he was in that beast period, whatever, for 10 years. So you mean to tell me that this 11-year-old kid is like this big, ginormous beast, and then he turns 21?
They kept saying it would be like...
I mean, can't we just pretend a little harder? And just be like, well, when they're enchanted, time's different. No?
Right. Well, they were just like, we're not drawing Eddie Munster.
Right. But I always thought it was funny because at the end of the movie, obviously, the good thing happens and he gets transformed back from his beast. But then when you see him in the parks or anything, he's Beast. Obviously, that's who we know him. But it's like, that's bad. He didn't want to be Beast. He wanted to be human. But we don't ever show him as human.
Because we love him as he is.
Well, you only see him as a human for 10 minutes.
I know, but that was the good part, the end of the movie. So
you're saying you want continuity at the parks. So you just want a prince walking around, they're like, who are you? And you're like, I'm the Beast.
Yeah, that's why they do it.
Oh, well, at the end of the movie, I turned back. I can't. What do you want me to do? Go back in time?
Here's the thing. Kids don't make it through all these movies. They get to halfway
they just
through.
remember him as the Beast.
Yeah.
It's funny though, you were talking about the Broadway songs and stuff like that. Well, the Broadway musical actually from Beauty and the Beast has a lot more songs that didn't make it to the movie, and those are, my mom always bought all the Broadway soundtracks. Yeah. I've listened to Beauty and the Beast soundtrack probably more than any other album in my life, just because my whole childhood was playing that.
That's awesome.
I play it for my kids now, but yeah, I listen to all that music more than I watch the movies, 100%. Every single piece of it is just the songs are what bring back memories. Like Mulan, I know all the. I've never seen Mulan. I know all the songs.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I've never seen the movie.
But I know another big thing with Beauty and the Beast. This is one of the first times they showed a rough sketch version because they talk about this in the documentary. I'm not acting like I just watched a movie and I know all this stuff. But they showed it to a New York Film Festival, and it wasn't painted. It was just hand sketch drawn, and they were expecting it's rough, right? People got up, cheered, applauded, to basically the equivalent of an alpha in a video game.
Yeah.
And they were like, holy crap. This is, so of course they finish it and it's magnificent. Now, the question I had, so there's scenes in that movie that feel like they're 3D animation, especially the part when they come down from the chandelier and they're dancing
and stuff. Yeah,
that feels like there's got to be some 3D animation.
This during the early 90s. I think maybe the Little Mermaid had missed out a bit out of it because they were doing that more towards the late 80s. But they really started to try to integrate computer animation, but do it in a way that it integrated with hand-drawn animation. So so pretty much all the movies in the 90s, they really tried to integrate the computer animation with it. I mean, there's a ton of examples in the movies that we're going to talk about later on where you can definitely tell where they try to
just
look
like
at
this, you could tell it's the 3D, the way the camera moves and all stuff, so you can't really hand draw that. It's different.
And it looks really bad in Aladdin. The part where they're escaping the lava.
I think Aladdin is pretty good. I don't know.
The part where they're escaping the lava.
There are some other parts of Aladdin where I'm like, oh, I'm not really. You can definitely tell that the movie is aged, but
I love the movie, but it's there's definitely. I hate it when they integrate technologies that aren't ready and they just force it in.
Back then, you were just like, whoa! I remember I was talking to her when we were watching Mulan last night. The part where they're all coming down the mountain, and I remember seeing a featurette about that, how that was a big deal, the computer animation for that, and I remember being blown away by that, seeing that in the movie. And now you're just like, oh, looks. Yeah.
Well, I think the big thing too, and going back to the death of Walt and moving forward with kind of his legacy, was there was this big concern of what would Walt do? And Walt wouldn't do that. And Michael Eisner was kind of like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but like, I don't care. Like, I have to run this company. Like, it would behoove me to continue, like, to not think Disney is not a living, breathing company. Like, I'm not beholden to Walt, which is like, you don't want to say that, right? Because some of these animators that were still there in the 90s were there from the beginning. And that's why the integration, I think, of like 3D, there was a lot of pushback on that. Like, well, we don't want to. And then there was like, we have to innovate, because Steven Spielberg was pumping out kids movies too. Like, you had
Travel Goes West.
Yeah, American Tail. You had The Land Before Time. Like, there was a big, because I mean, Walt was the weirdo, right? When he was like, I want to make feature films that are animated. Everyone's like, you're wacko. Right. And then he made all this money, and they're like, we should make feature films that are animated. And then, you know, that's like Lowe's, right? Like, let's do Home Depot, but make it better. You know what I mean? Sorry, Home Depot.
Are you saying that Lowe's? I don't think Lowe's is better than Home Depot. I like Home Depot way better than Lowe's. New conversation. I'm just joking.
That'd be its own episode.
But they had a lot of, like you were talking about, Sarah, a lot of success on their other front. So they had live action, which was still popular, and they were trying to capture that tweeny audience.
Like
and
Flubber?
Like, well, no, the next movie we're going to talk about is this is what, as a kid, this was like the movie that I loved. The Mighty Ducks.
Oh, the Mighty Ducks.
Quack.
Go Ducks.
Quack. Quack.
11th win streak right now.
Flying
All-time
V.
record.
Flying V. Yeah. No, but I think it felt like a Disney movie now that we look back. But I remember as a kid watching this, I was like, this isn't a Disney. Like, this is like my movie. Like, is it like a young kid? You know what I mean? Like, not super young. I think I was probably, I don't know how old I was, but yeah. Emilio Estevez.
Emilio!
So, like, I'm an Anaheim Ducks fan. Go Ducks. And I didn't really, I've only been a hockey fan for a couple of years now. But looking back at the history of this, like, holy crap, Disney literally created an NHL pro hockey team for this movie.
It shows how
advertised
the power
for this movie. Like, it's ridiculous.
Oh, is that why it was there?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it came just people liked the Ducks, so they just came out with it later.
Well,
No.
They had a
it's the same
team,
time.
but it was like, but it was just like, it just shows the power. Like, I always feel like there's this executive like, oh, we can't do that. We can't create. He's like, watch me. You know, it's just like, it's just that I love the fact of that. But you had, what's his name? Joshua Jackson. Remember when he broke his wrist at the beginning and at the end he could move it? And then of course they drove it into the ground like all good Disney things with Mighty Ducks 2 and Mighty Ducks 3.
Yeah, D3.
So
D2
bad.
and D3.
They're not that bad.
But it was cool because I think
pretty
I as a kid, I played street hockey because of that movie. You did everything in that movie. You do and like none of it actually, like if you actually talk to like people.
If you go to a live game and say, do the flying V, people are like, no.
Well,
Or start saying quack, quack, puck.
Yeah.
You don't do that at the pro games.
But it's funny now because the Ducks have removed now the Mighty Ducks, right? Because I think they were
They're
like,
the Anaheim Ducks.
yeah, because I'm sure if you're a player on that team, they're like, oh, you guys got your own movie? Oh, you guys are real tough. Like, I'm sure they got a lot of crap.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually kind of cool. This year they have, every team has like a third jersey, which is kind of like their
Throwback,
special jersey,
yeah.
their throwback. And this year is bright orange, but it has the Mighty Ducks logo on the front, which is the first time they brought back the Mighty Ducks
Yes.
logo since they revealed their new logo like in 2007. But it's like, oh, that looks freaking awesome. So
It's the goalie mask in the shape of a duck. It has the bill, right?
Yep.
You wanted to talk about the TV show, the cartoon?
I mean, of course,
Yeah,
I have
I
to
love
talk
that
about
show.
that show. That show's the best show
is he like
ever.
a superhero or something?
No, there's like the whole team of their actual ducks.
Yeah.
Like,
But they're like
and
cyborgs.
the
One of
Mighty
them's
Ducks.
a cyborg duck.
They have like, things they wear on their head. I don't think he's an official cyborg.
Oh, okay. Canon of the Mighty Ducks
It's
cartoon.
like
Gotta look at the
laser, but yeah, they fight and they shoot pucks out of their guns and they battle aliens that invade LA.
I remember that show. I used to love that
It's
show.
great, except for that they beat every bad guy with water.
Yeah, we talked.
They really do. If you watch all the episodes, it's like water is the solution to everything.
But as a kid, it made sense. It's just like, you watch all cartoons. Like I went back and watched like some of the like Thundercats, and I'm like, these are bad, like so bad. But you're a kid, you don't care. It's
Yeah.
on
I
us.
don't know. I always think the Care Bears always holds up. Every time I rewatch it, I'm like,
I don't know.
Care Bear
No way.
stare.
yeah, it does.
I don't know. The Care Bears aren't bad. I don't hate on the Care Bears. Is that Disney property?
No, it's not.
No,
Well, then we don't talk about it.
that's actually another big thing. Was like that was one of their big competitors. Was like Care Bears.
It was on the Disney Channel, the Care Bears.
I don't think it
cartoon.
was. No.
Wasn't it like Nickelodeon or something?
No,
I think
I'm pretty
it probably
positive
was.
it was on the Disney Channel.
Okay, so then the next movie that obviously continued this renaissance of the animation studio was, we kind of already touched on it, Aladdin.
My favorite Disney movie of all time.
It was
is
really
pretty
good.
great.
Now, is this the first time they used like a really big name for voice actors? Because they had Robin Williams, obviously, as Genie.
You had Angela Lansbury, right, as the
I don't know who
Teapot
that
for
is still.
Beauty and the Beast.
She was from Murder, She Wrote.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Sorry.
Come on, man.
Marketing
Big
like the
names.
80-year-olds.
Big 90s comedians.
I'm just saying, Robin Williams. Come on, if you go to the
Yeah.
street and you say hey, Angela Lansbury or Robin Williams, who do you think? And you know better. I bet you.
I don't
Robin
know.
Williams.
And a little throwback to last week's episode from Fuller House. Steve is the voice of Aladdin.
Oh, that's right.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Did not know that.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, that was probably a huge.
And then
get for them.
Iago was Gilbert Godfrey,
Yeah.
which is a big name and comedian again. So, and then Abu was. I'm just kidding.
It's like, yeah, it's like,
Let's talk about the voice actor for The Rug. I think they deserve an Oscar.
That's right. But yeah, no, I thought that made it's a huge difference because you get look at the Return of Jafar, and I know we're gonna pull things out of order, but Return of Jafar didn't have Robin Williams, and that movie sucked. And then
All of them did after that.
Yeah, all the
I
sequels.
loved King of Thieves. I really liked that movie.
the fact that you know the subtitle. I don't even. I just called it Aladdin 3.
No, it was Aladdin.
But they
the
brought
King
him
of
back.
Thieves, and it had Robin Williams back. And I
Was
thought
it like his dad?
his
No.
dad? Aladdin's
Gerald.
dad was in the movie, but there
Thank you,
was still the genie. It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
the genie. Yeah, but he was the king of the. Aladdin's dad was the king
Gotcha.
of thieves, and they get back together and. The father son song.
No, Aladdin's the only one I care
Yeah.
about.
No,
Just the
I
original.
actually I think King of Thieves. I really like that movie. I almost liked it more than Aladdin.
Well, the one
shut your
thing, the one thing we'll talk about in these is you definitely see through this series of movies from the 90s to now, Disney kind of being pulled in multiple directions because you had a lot of, I'm sure people in marketing are like, you can't make these kids movies. Nobody likes them. And then obviously they prove them wrong with Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and then we'll get to the quintessential like resurgence of Disney animation studios. But during this time period, this is what I wanted to ask you a question about. So they started releasing, they created a movie studio to kind of appeal to other kids, Touchstone Pictures, which is they marketed and distributed these movies, which then I started looking up stuff. So Touchstone makes a lot of movies. Like their big movie at that time was Splash with Tom Hanks. Great movie. But they kind of had their hands in a lot of other things that you wouldn't think are necessarily Disney. So just like we talked about Buena Vista as like a sister company or whatever.
I think Miramax is a sister company.
Yeah, they like,
Wait, really?
yeah, this is the thing. I started looking it up and then I looked up this is that
Dive a little deeper.
DreamWorks, which you would consider one of their bigger current competitors, they market and distribute DreamWorks movies.
Makes sense.
What the heck?
Makes sense.
Like, how unfair is that?
I feel
Yeah.
like DreamWorks is just like cheaper Pixar movies.
No, but that's my...
They're the poorly produced ones. Yeah.
Yeah, poor man's Pixar.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to note that it's like Disney's... Because the public, I don't think generally knows that.
If you map out the chart of all of the companies that Disney has their hands in or have created, it's amazing.
Yeah.
They're one of the top 3 companies that pretty much touch on everything.
Yeah, if they don't make it, they own the ability to distribute and market it, which means they pretty much make a ton of... They're the producer behind it. You know
So I
what
was
I mean?
looking at because like that Valiant movie, that animated movie that we probably won't dive into. It's kind of crappy.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, this can't be a Disney movie. This movie really sucks. But it's like Disney marketed the movie
Right.
for like a UK animated movie or a studio, whatever. So that's kind of what they did, where DreamWorks would animate the movie and then Disney would.
And they probably do a lot of things that they don't necessarily want to put their name stamp on.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they've
Makes
got
sense.
a brand, and it's
Yeah.
like, but they still need to make movies and do different things. But
money.
you come out with a movie and you're like, okay, this one's so. Let's put it as a Miramax. You know what I mean? They're just not going to put the Disney stamp on every
Well,
single thing.
and it actually at that time, I think Disney, not to say that it wasn't a negative thing, but it had a label of younger audience. And so they wanted to make, because Walt always, to be honest, I think not that I know him, but from what I've watched, he really had a passion for live action movies.
Yeah,
He wanted
absolutely. From the very beginning, from the very first time that he did Alice, the half human, half
Hybrid,
cartoons, yeah. Even from the very beginning, he's always wanted to touch on live action, but I don't think live action has really caught on for Disney as much. So
Right, and that's why I think they created Touchstone to try to separate that idea of, it's a Disney movie. It's a Touchstone movie, which, whatever.
Oh, so like Disney equals kids. So I don't really want to. I don't
Yeah.
want to go
Exactly.
see a kids movie.
And
Exactly.
if you're a tweener, right? Like what's in a name was a tweener. Everything's in a name, right? Like you wear like certain clothes because they say a certain name on them. So like taking
Disney's
Disney
for girls.
Right. Disney's for little kids. I like the, bigger movies, older movie. When you're a kid, you care about that crap. But another movie that I wanted to talk about that is a live action. Do you guys, wait, before I know it's your favorite. Do you guys have anything else on Aladdin?
I want to say
Wait.
something about Aladdin.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't mean to
No, it's fine.
overtalk you.
No, just saying, like, we were listening to the soundtrack. I was preparing for this
Yeah, he was
episode.
singing in
and
the
man,
shower.
I was singing in the shower. Like, all these songs are just so great. I remember all of them. They're great.
Yeah. I just want to say that, even though I am a girl, I never have, I've grown up watching Disney movies and I love them. But I never really identified with any of the princesses. I was more of like a Wednesday Addams. Like I wanted to be like Morticia Addams when I grew up.
Right.
For me, like relationship goals weren't, like Ariel and Eric. They were more like Morticia Addams and, Gomez Addams.
That's awesome.
I was like I wanted to be like a part of the Munsters. So then they came out with Aladdin and I just thought it was cool how Jasmine she really had like her own personality and, she was really kind of like against the grain. Like, I don't know, not to offend anybody, but I really didn't think Belle was that great of a person. She was like
the mythos of
yeah,
Belle.
like she was like, falling in love with this beast. And I was like, why are you falling in love with a man when there's a library upstairs that you could be in? Like that makes no
All
sense
the knowledge.
to me.
Relationship girls.
Yeah, exactly. So, Jasmine was the first princess that really appealed to me just because, even though her father, he would say, no, like that's not like how you should think. She would say it anyways. So I don't know.
Here's what I want to know. I want to see Jasmine's mom. Because the
She's dead.
Sultan is like a short little fat dude, and Jasmine's
But
hot.
they were
so
in
his
arranged
mom,
marriage.
her mom, must have been
Smoking.
stunning,
But
right?
that's the whole thing is they were in arranged marriage. And he even said in the movie, he said her mother was nearly so picky. So it's
Right,
like,
but I'm just saying, she must have been smoking.
She didn't get the good genes from her dad.
The Sultan's what one side produced, the other side must have been a solid 18. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Jasmine was the first like hot princess. She got the midriff showing and stuff. Well, Little Mermaid.
I mean,
This
Little
was in a
Mermaid
bikini.
too, but it was kind of fish. It was
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bottom felt weird.
Oh my god. Breaking down the Disney princesses. Swipe left, swipe right. All right, next movie. Everyone get your tissues out. Homeward Bound.
Oh my god, I remember crying to this movie as a kid, being like, hide the tears.
They did
Shadow, no.
They did the two things. They brought cute animals and death.
Oh yeah. And humor. It was funny. It
was.
didn't have
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox.
yeah,
was
Michael
the
J.
dog.
Fox, Sally Fields, sassy.
Yeah, I don't remember who Shadow was.
I think we looked it up. It wasn't like
Some
a
guy,
big name.
Yeah.
If they redid it today, it'd be Morgan Freeman.
Well, here's the thing. Back then, they didn't move the mouths, right, of the animals. It was just
Right.
you just
Yeah.
knew based off of that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine shooting that movie. That would be just like, that's like children and animals. Those are the two you don't want to work with. And they're like, this entire movie, all three characters are animals. It's like,
Except for this
Especially
one
like
scene
there's
of
a cat. Like, how do you get a cat like walk this way toward the camera?
I don't know.
They train cats in Hollywood.
Really?
Yeah. I always
The
had
cast
big
is
dreams of
wondering.
being a pug Hollywood mom. But of course, I live in Las Vegas now, so that's never going to happen. But I have dreams.
But yeah, I think this was the first movie I think I saw as like, well, Bambi, but I think I was almost too young for it to be like have that effect. But this, because I had a dog, one time it ran away. Like everyone has had that
I remember
experience.
being devastated to watch this movie, like crying, being like,
Because that's what they do. They're like, what sad experiences have kids all felt? Oh, their dog running away. Let's do an entire movie about that. It's just like, you bastards.
I feel like this movie too wasn't just aimed at kids.
No.
Because like I
Oh,
remember
definitely not.
like my aunt watching. We used to stay summers with my aunt and watching it with her and my cousins for the first time. And me and my cousins were all like, okay, because one, we like halfway through the movie would go play something and then come back.
Right.
And she's just bawling. I mean, just flowing tears. So it's like it wasn't just for kids. Like adults would get just as much sadness out of it.
Yeah.
Thanks
If I
to-
watched it now, I'll probably be crying.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it is. I probably would care more now because I didn't have a dog.
Okay, a little bit more upbeat live action movie. A little bit after this was Cool Runnings.
Kiss the egg.
John
That movie
Candy.
was fantastic.
It was.
John Candy. Yes.
It was
John.
fantastic. I just remember the scene where he's like, in toboggan bobsledding, your bones don't break. They shatter. And like everyone leaves the room. He's the only one sitting there. He's like, okay, I guess we'll do it. It was a fantastic movie. I remember all this. Now Jamaica got a bobsled team. Like,
Yeah,
it's just
that's all I was trying to think of.
so much
before,
fun.
yeah.
Such a good movie. So if you haven't seen that, check it out.
John
How have
Candy.
you not seen it? How do you get through the 90s and not see it?
I didn't
Runnings,
see
yeah.
it till I was older. I think. I
Really?
caught it on the Disney Channel at some point. No, I didn't make it out to that one. Sorry.
It's good movie. Cool running.
All
My
right.
parents would have seen Cool Runnings and been like, no, we're poor.
And then, of course, this is like probably the quintessential resurgence, the ultimate comeback of Walt Disney Animation Studios, The Lion King.
Yeah, it's all right. Just kidding.
Funny little story about the Lion King. So during this time, they were like, yes, we're back. Let's start making these movies. Technically, the Lion King was supposed to be the little filler film that came out before Pocahontas. They had their B team working on the Lion King, which to me, the irony is hilarious because the Lion King is an amazing movie.
Yeah, fantastic.
The animation, they couldn't even finish animating the movie. About a third way through the movie, the Northridge earthquake happened, and and some of the animators couldn't even get back to the studios, like, because
keep drawing.
Yeah, so like the freeway and the bridge like had collapsed because of the earthquake, so they couldn't get there. There was no way for them to get there. So a lot of the animators had to finish animating at home.
Oh, geez.
So for, and it's funny because a lot of the, at this time, MGM Studios was also open at, Disney World, which was in Florida. It's one of their parks. One of the 4 parks is now the Hollywood Studios. But, they also had an animation, section there as well. So you had 2 completely different animators working on one character in Florida, working in LA, working at home, and it still came together so seamlessly. And
Right.
it's amazing that they were able to pull this movie off in a big way when it was supposed to be just such a tiny little film.
Well, hopefully they got through the kids part, and then they passed it to Florida for the adult ones, because you never know, You just gotta
Exactly.
do that little bridge scene where they walk across the log, and you're good.
I was just going to say, if you ever want to motivate a team, call them the B team. And, you know what I mean?
They'll show you.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
the B team. Like, yeah. But I was watching, again, that documentary. They brought in, like, this is always so cool. They would bring in, like, actual live giant lions and
They've
be like,
done that since the very beginning.
that's so cool.
Research.
What
Yeah.
I liked about this time in like the Disney history is that the Disney Channel, they started doing the like behind the scenes
yeah.
stuff while
Yeah.
you were watching your other shows, but they'd have like
Yeah.
a
Wonderful
commercial.
World of Disney.
Yeah, and you get to see like the lions, and they'd show you. It was the marketing of their new movie that was coming out, but it was cool because you get all this extra footage of how they're making this new cool
Yeah.
movie, and it would totally build the hype. But they did. I mean, I think they did that stuff. I don't know if they do it today because I don't watch the Disney Channel, but
Yeah, I don't
for
either,
like
so I have
10
no idea.
years, I remember seeing all these different movies. that
They
would come
do
out,
still do it, but they don't
Tarzan.
do it as much as they used to as when we
They
were
have
kids.
specials every now and then,
Yeah.
but not really.
Yeah, they would just pipe it in whenever they could, like
Yeah.
in between shows.
Well, this is where the real divide between Eisner, Katzenberg, and Roy Disney started to really, because
Roy Jr. Disney.
right, Roy E. Disney. I don't remember. It's O or
Roy
E.
Jr..
Yeah, Roy Jr. Because at this point, Katzenberg was starting to become like, on all those backstage stuff, they would have like an intro like, "Hi, I'm Michael Eisner here at Walt Disney, blah, 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 blah. We want to show you a little bit of behind the scenes." So all of them were vying to be the Walt Disney of the company. And I know before Lion King, like right after it premiered, which obviously everyone loved it, Katzenberg left.
Katzenberg that got the beard, or who's the guy that was always on TGIF during World Before World of Disney who introduced all that stuff?
I don't remember.
There was
The guy's name.
Well, here's what also happened. There was a guy there was a fourth guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was kind of the mediator. And they talk about this in this documentary that everyone would go talk to them about how much they hated the other guy. Right. And, unfortunately he was traveling in a helicopter and then he died. And so,
Jesus.
yeah, he died. And this was before Lion King premiered. So like there was no one for those 3 people to go yell at. And there's some footage of Michael Eisner at his funeral, and he's introducing Roy Disney Jr. And he's like, I remember when Roy came to me and Katzenberg and wanted to create this new, not start over, but rejuvenize the Walt Disney Animation Studio. And then Roy comes out and he's like, "That's all you have to say about me? Like that's your only intro?" And he comes over and I'm like, a man has died. Like,
Right.
And you're being petty
There was
at the
some bad
funeral.
blood.
Oh, there was definitely, and after they were like, they would always do this when they would have these big premieres. This like any business, if you go and you do a big powwow. We used to work for AT&T, and they would do this. Like, after a really big success, they invite everybody in. They tell you, you guys are rock stars. You guys are kicking butt. Blah blah blah. And they didn't tell Katzenberg that they were going to move the animation studios to a new headquarters. And he was like, "What the heck? Like, I don't even get told. Like, I'm the head of that. Like, you should tell me." So there was a lot of jockeying for like egos and stuff like that, and they wanted to be the one that everyone loved. All
Right.
the animators,
The Walt Disney of the...
yeah. So it's interesting because you think of like it's like, no, it's a company, and we will, people get
Put
hurt.
you.
Yeah, and then Katzenberg, he left and then started working with Steven Spielberg and that whole DreamWorks, created DreamWorks with him and started making this competition. But yeah, Lion King they knocked it out of the park. I mean, come on. It's unbelievable how amazing that movie is. Now, I have
From a B team.
yes.
Yeah, you still like if you have like a kid or small child or a puppy, you hold them up.
Everybody
You do
does that, right?
You have to do that.
Everyone knows the beginning. Ah, Savannah!
to me.
Everybody has their own version.
But
go ahead.
watching that movie, even just recently, the animation still holds up amazing.
Oh,
Great.
great.
That flying, the very
Yeah.
beginning, the bird flying in.
And
you
see,
see
the
Pride
difference
Rock. You're
between-
like, oh, it's amazing.
And the difference between Aladdin and The Lion King is like Aladdin, there are some parts, and as much as I love Aladdin, it is one of my favorite movies. I'm sorry, but it just, some of the animation still does not, like, to me, it's just like, it looks so cheap. Like, it looks so like,
The technology hasn't been completely perfected. It's
Yeah.
it's a half step, right?
yeah,
Right. The other part that was cool was when the Lion King shows they hit that big bass note. It's like boom,
yeah.
and it's like, and they do it at the beginning and the end of the movie. It's just like it's over. It's
Yeah.
like bam. It was
You know
awesome.
what's actually cool about this movie too is that the animators who went out, when this is what I love about all of the Disney movies is the animators get to go on these humongous research trips, and that to me is
That's
so
so
cool.
cool.
Like they get to go and be in the ocean and look at things, or be in the savannah and look at things. And
For Zootopia, they went to Africa. For
yeah,
a while,
exactly.
yeah.
So for the Lion King, the animation team that did this, they still meet up on the anniversary every year of their trip.
That's cool.
Yeah, so like they bonded in such a way
BFFs.
that they still meet up even now, like on the anniversary of their trip, and I think that's really cool.
If I was in charge of the Zootopia trip, and I'd be like, guys, guess what? I was like, we all get to go somewhere. The Animal Kingdom in Florida.
it's
Guess
funny.
what? We have all the animals there. We don't have to pay to send you to Africa this time.
Well, what's funny is that they for Zootopia they actually went to the Animal Kingdom in Florida. They went to San Diego Zoo. But they still weren't happy. So at the end, they were like, all right, well, let's just go to,
This is an exotica.
let's just go to Africa. Let's just
I know
bite the
sloths
bullet
are
and do
slow,
it.
but I'm just not feeling it. I need to see them in their
need
true
more
natural
information.
environment.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Lion King, I think for me stands out as probably the most iconic music from that time period. And I actually have a story about the Lion King with Jordan. So
Nah, we don't need to get
yeah,
into
we
that.
do. I'm definitely telling this story. I'll keep some of the gory details out.
Whoa.
Jesus, what happened?
Well,
A
no,
real lion or
I
something?
slaughtered a lion, wore its mane around for like 3 days
Over here.
No.
until it started to stink.
Jordan, we were at a party in college, and Jordan was trying to impress a girl and was drinking in order to. I think they were doing shots or something, and he was like, tequila, right? And so Jordan drank too much. Well, not enough not to be able to walk down the steps by himself, but enough to get home and be very, very sick. So we had it was me, Jordan, and 2 other roommates. And he was really sick, and we didn't want to put him in his bed because we wanted to make sure he was really, really
And
frosty.
they always have those stories where like I roll off my bed and my head gets stuck and I just drown on my
What?
own vomit.
Yeah.
You ever hear about that?
No.
That you were that drunk where it's like, we need to turn him on his side
Right.
just in case.
Put a
We were
depressor
in
on his
college.
tongue.
We didn't need to be depressing, you know?
Yeah. So anyways, we put him in the living room where like we can all kind of keep an eye on him and hear him if he, whatever.
You guys are good friends.
I know.
just went to bed.
And I asked Jordan, I'm like, Jordan, what I'm gonna put on the TV, what do you watch? She's like, Lion King. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a good movie. Like it'll be fine. It's a harmless movie. No. Jordan sang every song at the top of his lungs all night long.
I know every word.
I just can't wait to be king. All night. Not a good choice of a movie. You tricked me. And I think the other part was we gave you a Home Depot bucket. We're like, if you get sick,
Home Depot bucket.
like a 5-gallon. He goes, his question to me was, what if I fill the bucket? And I was like, if you fill the bucket, like you have no internal organs anymore.
You're dying. We're taking you to the hospital.
It's like you have bigger problems to worry about. So yes, Lion King has other therapeutic.
Yes, I always got to reach back to my childhood when I'm not in a good place.
So I've not only heard the line, and you know what? The music was good enough that I was bobbing my head while Jordan was singing.
So he does know all the words.
Yeah.
No, I do, and the talking words. I don't think I stopped with the music. I just went through the whole thing. That was another one that had good voice acting, though. I don't know.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas, yes.
Matthew Broderick, Jeremy Irons,
There's that Timon was a famous guy. Can't remember him.
Mufasa, why can't I think
James
of
Earl
Earl
Jones.
Jones.
Yeah. Why can't I think of his name?
Oh,
Darth
and
Vader.
the mom, whatever her name was.
Nala?
No, the mom wasn't Nala.
Oh, no.
It was something. The mom's name was something else, but they were in Coming to America. They both played Eddie Murphy's parents.
Really?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that at this point, before The Lion King, it was like everybody wanted to now be part of Disney, and Disney started to be more. This is when Disney started to meet both of those criteria. It won the B of A award, the Bank of America award, because it made a ton of money and it was artistic. So it proved to both sides, like, you can do this. You can be financially and critically successful. And I think Lion King was nominated for an Oscar Best Picture, which is the first time since
Snow White.
It didn't win, but I mean, doesn't matter. And it's funny in the documentary, like, we didn't win, but we got to go to all the parties. And they're like, it's funny because like we're animators, like we're the dorky, we're not Hollywood, you know? And I think when they went up there or when they got nominated, they were asking, he's like, oh, you guys made a bunch of people at home throw their hot dogs up in the air at the, when they announced the Oscars and stuff like the nominees. So, all right, next one.
Nathan Lane, that's Timon. Sorry.
Yes.
I always think of things way too late.
Pocahontas, another great animated. This was kind of, and I think this is when they started feeling like, and again, Disney always has like ideas brewing. Like they had Pocahontas way
on
back.
The board. Yeah.
But I think at this point they were like, we can do no wrong. And Pocahontas, I think, generally obviously didn't meet the expectations of like Lion King, but was still critically successful.
Yeah.
As well as made a ton of money too. At this point, this is when they turned on that money printing machine back at Disney.
They figured out how to get the ink cartridge in there working and all that kind of stuff. They just hit on and then started printing.
Yeah.
And songs were awesome. Like Colors of the Wind was super popular. Like I really enjoyed all Pocahontas.
I was singing Pocahontas today in the shower.
Yeah. So like I said, we were getting ready for this episode, man.
That's awesome.
My wife was like, I sang some Pocahontas. She's like, how do you know Pocahontas? That's a girl's one. Pocahontas like John Smith. Come on. That's a total dude.
Mel Gibson, come on.
I know.
Wait, he was the voice?
Yeah.
See, I didn't.
Christian Bale was the voice of another character.
Really?
I didn't know that.
I only know when he talks like this.
Yeah, in the movie he talks like this kind of, so it's kind of
That's funny.
Yeah.
He was the assistant, right?
No, he was one of the whatever guys.
No, anyway.
But
they have a pug in that movie?
Yeah, they do have a pug in that movie.
Right. I like the raccoon and Flick.
Yeah. This was another movie that I had seen Lion King in the movie theater. I was kind of like, oh, whatever. But I saw Pocahontas in the movie theater. In my mind, it was just like, my brain was like splattered. Like, I was like, whoa. Like, I don't know, maybe if it was just the theater I was sitting in or what it was.
Good
but
sound.
This movie blew my mind out of the water. Like, it was just like, I was like, wow, this movie's amazing.
Well, the animation in that one is, this is, again, every step as they keep progressing. And I think this is where more and more of the influence from Pixar and other studios started to continue to show through. Because the animation in this looks a much different. I mean, it's still hand-drawn mixed with that, but it feels like more 3D is coming in, more computer.
But it was better.
That's what I'm saying. It was more hidden.
You couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, you knew it was there, but you couldn't. It wasn't like such a pinpoint.
Yeah, and Pocahontas was another female that I was like, whoa, I want to be Pocahontas. Oh my god. And I was already brown, so like, yeah, I was already brown, so like, everyone was like, you're Pocahontas anyway. And I was like, no, but she's so cool because like, she's like, I want adventure. I don't need no man.
You didn't have to have that white hate thing though at the end of watching it. It was like, man, we are horrible people. Like, those are such good people. They're eating corn. They call it gold. And we're just in there destroying their forest for money. Like, yeah, so you have a whole like self-referential thing going on there. Though I'm part Indian, so I also had a little love.
A little love. Yeah, so if there is ever a live-action Pocahontas, I'm going to the casting. I've decided.
Awesome.
I've missed my mark as, singing in a Pocahontas Broadway musical.
All right, next one. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I did not like this movie as a kid. This movie, like, one, I probably didn't understand it. I probably still don't understand the core values of whatever this movie represents. But, like, it scared me. It was just really weird.
Don't judge a book by its cover. I think that's the story, the message.
Yeah, I guess. But, like,
Quasimodo.
the I don't know, the way the bad guy dies at the end is, like, super brutal.
Yeah.
It's just, like, this is not really a...
was it, like, it wasn't, like, molten lava, but...
Yeah, it was.
Like
this is, like, the
fire.
first... Yeah, this is the first movie I saw as a kid. It's like, God, this is dark. I don't know, guys.
Well, the thing I love about this movie, did this spawn the cartoon show Gargoyles? I love that cartoon.
No, Gargoyles was awesome, though.
Gargoyles was awesome, but I don't
It
think
was a little
Because they were talking
after.
gargoyles, and that was his friends, right?
I don't think this is the
Jason
first
Alexander.
time that introduced gargoyles, because gargoyles have been around.
No, I know they've been around for a long time.
Yes.
Yes, I know.
And I believe there's mythos around them that has nothing to do with.
But I just don't know the time period between when this
I think
movie.
it
This
was
is
a
where
little bit after.
the Gargoyles fad started with Notre Dame.
Yeah, there's a big push for gargoyle.
I would say the TV show was
When I grow up, I want to be a gargoyle.
There were a couple really awesome.
Just stand still for the entire. Mom, look how good of a gargoyle I am.
But when night comes in, you can start moving.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all crime.
But no, the movie was, I agree with you. It was dark. There were a couple of songs where like the bad guy in the movie is dark, and it's a little boring.
And the chick, what's her name? Esmeralda's like super provocative, and it's like, this is really
She's a
Demi
gypsy,
Moore, yo.
though.
No, I know, but it's like, this is really a kid's movie?
Yeah.
Well-
but there were some awesome songs. There were some really cool parts where like he finally gets out for the day and like the gesture
Yeah.
was cool.
Mhm.
They did there were some really cool songs, but overall, yeah, not my favorite movie.
Growing up in the Catholic Church, I completely understood this movie 100%. I was like, this movie is about shame. It's about guilt.
About shame.
It's about like being charitable. It's about loving thy neighbor.
Yeah.
Like it's all of those. So I completely understood this movie.
That's why I didn't.
And I think this is the movie where I started to realize, like, because I remember I went to Disneyland shortly after this movie had come out, and I had went to Disneyland several times after that, and they were still playing the Festival of Fools parade, and I was like, Jesus, Disney, like, okay, I get it. Like, yes, I saw the movie, and I've already seen this parade like 3 times. You know, let's mix it up a bit. But a funny story is, back in the day when the movie came out on VHS, my dad was watching it with my little brother and my little sister. They were really young, and all out of nowhere, after one of the songs, my brother just sighs and he's like, "There's a lot of singing in this movie." And my dad is like, "Yeah, there is."
Well, that's actually, I think this is when you see some of that transition. I mean, there still is music in some of the movies that we'll talk about, but it seems like they start to back off of that Lion King, you know, every 15,
10
20
seconds,
minutes,
there's a
have a song, have a song, have a song. There's less and less of that as we go through this, because the next one is Hercules, which had music.
Hercules had a lot of
I
songs.
could go the distance.
I love that song.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I do too.
See,
that's another one we watched
That's
this
my
weekend.
favorite. That's one of my
Well,
favorites.
see, I think this is when I started to have that moment of like, Disney's for kids. I don't know. I had that moment where I was like, I remember going to see Hercules and I was like, it's a
James Woods? Come on. Piece of candy?
No, Hades was great. I mean, it's a good movie. Like going back and now watching it, but as a kid or, you know, a young kid, I was like, this is kind of, I'd rather watch like Die Hard 2 or something like, you know, I was more into like action and like, you know,
I
that
was
type
still
of stuff.
not allowed to watch rated R movies at
Yeah,
this point. I
same
know
here.
I was like 13 or 14, but I wasn't able to watch that stuff. So Hercules was still good.
I
in my
loved
book.
Hercules as a kid.
Yeah, it was super cool. It was the closest thing to superheroes I think that we got for as far as Disney movies
At that time,
goes.
yeah.
And it was super awesome. The songs were great. Who's the goat guy? Danny
Phil?
DeVito.
Danny DeVito.
Frank Reynolds.
Super funny. Just the whole movie. I don't know. It's kind of one of my highlights of my childhood was that movie.
Oh, that was another scene in the movie where he's fighting, is it Hydra, that monster?
Yeah.
Where like, I remember watching that and just being blown away by the animation, because that was another one where they used 3D animation.
That one was
a lot of
definitely,
3D.
you could definitely tell that
You
was
could
like
tell. You
computer
like the
animation.
part where it doesn't look good.
Well, I don't know. Like, we were watching this weekend, but I didn't watch that part. I think I was doing something else. While you were watching it, but like, I just remember being in the theater and being like, "Holy crap! Like, this is freaking amazing! Just the style and it was really cool."
And this was another movie that really solidified like my beliefs. I was just like, you know what? At this point, even though I love Disney, I don't like the main characters enough. Like, I like the side characters more.
Yeah.
Like Timon and Pumbaa, you know, like
Comic relief.
Yeah, Pain and Panic, and I loved Hades. He's still one of my favorite villains
He's a
of all
good
time.
villain, yeah.
Yeah, like he's so great. I love him. But this is like, I was just like, you know what? These main characters, Megara, whatever her name is, the female in this movie, she's so annoying. Hercules, he's so whiny. Like, shut up. Just get it over with.
I have to say you're totally right on those main characters in that movie, but I think that they're almost not main characters in the movie. It really is almost like Pain and Panic and
Hades,
the
yeah.
Goat.
It's shared. It's shared across.
Like those guys were kind of like that's what's following the story, and they're like kind of building the story arc. But really, they're not them. They're the characters that already existed that they built this movie around. Hercules already existed. You know what I mean? So I don't totally agree with you. They're by far the worst characters in the movie. Everybody else, because isn't Bobcat Goldthwait or how do I say his name?
Yeah.
Isn't he panicked
Yeah.
or whatever? Yeah. All the side characters were 100 times better than the main characters in that movie.
All right, next one, Mulan.
It's another movie you watched this weekend.
Funny story about this movie.
You love the princess because she's brown.
No, actually,
She's
I don't
yellow.
like Mulan very much. However, I was going to say is that last night we were eating Chinese food, and I look over on our couch and we're watching the movie, and our pug Oprah, she's just like intently watching this movie, and
Yeah,
it is
she
the
likes
most,
her some Mulan.
yeah, like it is the most hilarious thing in the world to she's just watching it, and then she moves to another couch and she lays down and she's still watching the movie, and I
That's
was
so
like,
funny.
I've never seen that before.
that's so random.
But obviously, I spoke about before how they had that scene, all the Huns going down and stuff, and that computer animation being like, I remember it being like super cool and still holds up. That one does hold up. Not like the other ones that apparently you guys say sucks.
No, Mulan has a lot of good animation. It's not one of my favorite stories. Again, Eddie Murphy's character, Mushu, he's hilarious.
In the
I love
90s, we're
him.
like, we got to get good comedians to be side characters.
Yeah, they did a good job with that.
Now, again, for me, this movie, I remember seeing it, but I don't remember much from it because, again, I think it was that time when I was like, Disney's
Yeah, we were
for
like in
kids.
junior high when I think when that
No,
movie
and that's
came
why
out.
I started to, it was more like they were doing the touch tone separation of the movies for people like me because I was like, I don't want Mulan's for kids.
I don't remember liking Mulan. Like, I felt the same way you did with Mulan because it was like, it's about a girl.
That was the thing. It was like there was another
Definitely a girl story.
there's
But I
another
went back
girl
and
one
watched it.
that
It's an excellent film. Like it's
Yeah.
an awesome film. It's just the time period for when that happened to me was that it just wasn't going to be able to strike my
to
fancy.
bridge that gap.
And
Yeah.
Hello, the main song was sung by 90 Degrees. So
Really?
Was it
I mean,
really?
And Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Well, Christina, what's her name? Christina
Aguilera?
Yeah, her too.
she
but
was all the
90
'90s.
Degrees, like sold it
Nice.
for me. I was like, yes.
Genie in a bottle. Anyways, speaking of music, we'll move on to the next movie, Fantasia 2000. We hit a little bit on Fantasia. I have a question because I have seen both. What is the difference? Is there just more in
What do you mean
Fantasia
is the
2000?
difference?
They're
There's a huge
totally
difference.
different.
Yeah, just different pieces.
Yeah, but they show the same, like the Sorcerer's Apprentices in
That's
both.
the only
Yeah,
same
just
one.
to,
Oh,
just
really?
to kind of bring it back, but
The
Then-
tree rebirth thing that wasn't in the first one. The
No,
tree.
only the Sorcerer's Apprentice is the only one
Yeah.
they redid.
Oh, okay, then maybe
They
I
re-recorded
just
for this movie.
I thought they were like
Fantastic though. Like I was already in band, and the old Fantasia movie, like when I saw that as a kid, like I just want to I want to play in an orchestra and stuff. And then when Fantasia 2000 came out, was that junior high for us? Yeah, I was already in band, and I was just like, I'd love being in band just because it's like something like this. I think I went with people in band. Yeah, I was a big nerd.
yeah,
Anyways.
it's just like
Anyway, but I remember like Rhapsody in Blue, like that was in this movie, and then we played that in high school. I think when I was a sophomore, or junior, and just loving the music.
tell me the
because
cartoon.
of this movie.
What was the cartoon of
That
that?
was the construction workers.
Okay, yeah, that one was good.
Rhapsody in Blue is a fantastic piece of music.
Yeah.
And just like that, I
It's
actually
like
got to
upbeat,
play
right?
the same music. Yeah. That was in the movie. It was just like,
That's cool.
So cool.
yeah, it's kind of
Firebird Suite we played
when
too.
you're
that was in there.
in band. That's kind of like the required watching. Like you have, like your band teacher's going to put it on at some point or
Yeah.
another. So
And it's cool that they went back because I know obviously Walt had a big fascination with combining orchestral music with animation. He thought that was
You let
beautiful,
the music do the talking, not the characters.
right? And it's I don't know if Jordan felt the same way. These were boring. I mean, I can appreciate them now but
they're
as a
totally
kid, I
boring.
was like. One, it's Disney, so it's for kids, and then it's orchestral music. Like, oh man!
Well,
See,
that's
I was
sort of
obviously
thing.
a big
Yeah,
kid.
but it's
I
different.
listened to orchestral soundtracks every night. I would listen to the Star Wars soundtrack almost every single night. So I was.
Well, that was the whole
already
thing.
a
Is
nerd.
like, okay, so Fantasia 2000 was actually a bunch of the pieces that didn't make it into the original Fantasia, and so they brought them back out, and they kind of
They remastered
Bette
them and
Midler
stuff.
came out and kind of spoke a little bit about how they went through all these different themes and stuff like that, and how they kind of decided on the pieces. But even when it came out the first time in 1940, yeah, it was like late 1940 when it first came out. People liked it a lot better back then, but even Walt knew like people weren't exactly ready to understand
Right.
the concepts between the music and the animation. So so when you say like you weren't interested in that, doesn't even like
It was
like,
makes sense.
it makes sense because
It's a niche movie, right?
yeah.
So it makes sense. But now looking back, and actually, I watched a ton of that Fantasia 2000 because we used to show it as a demonstration when I worked at Bose. Because one of the big things that Bose was always trying to do was separate, the visuals from the audio, and one of the easiest ways to do that is to kind of make sure the visuals match the audio and the same experience and sensations that you're. Because if you close your eyes and you hear like a siren or whatever, you create a picture in your head, and that's what they were trying to do is let the music do the talking, right? So the animation was kind of backseat or in hand with the two versus, at that time, surround sound was about explosions and, big action movies, which I was interested as a kid, like I said, like RoboCop and all that stuff that was coming out at that time. Okay, next movie, The Emperor's New Groove.
Yes.
Very underrated movie,
It
David.
Sorry, again, I didn't like this movie.
Yeah,
We watched it again last night. It's the jokes of it are very meta. So they're obviously you have David Spade narrating the movie itself, stopping the movie and like making scribbles on the movie and stuff. So
Right.
it's very meta. Obviously the time period movie, and they had a lot of modern jokes and stuff. A lot of jokes for adults.
Yeah.
I think over kids. I love this movie. It is so funny. Definitely underrated. You need to check it out again.
So yeah, that's the thing I don't remember because I remember they came out with a cartoon, like a animated series of it, and I remember watching that, and he would do that where he would like stop, everyone freeze, and then he'd look at the audience and talk to them, break
David
the fourth.
Spade, another comedian. Gotta have him. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just I don't know, for some reason that just didn't resonate with me. I was like, oh, it felt cheesy. Maybe I don't know.
No, you definitely need to go back and rewatch it. I can understand like as a teen or even younger, you don't you wouldn't really appreciate it as much because you don't really get the jokes as much. But this movie was definitely made for adults. Like there are just so many adult jokes. There's one of where Pacha and Cusco they go and they're in hiding and they go to this diner and they got Pacha is like he's like, oh, you know, this is the first time that, you know, we've been out in public. He says that to the waitress and she says, aren't you so brave? And it's just, I don't know, just little stuff like that. They're quick little quips, but it's a great movie. You have to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the ones I need to go back and watch because I don't think I've watched it since it came out back in like 2000. So
after this came out, I remember like everyone's like walking around, having their own theme songs and stuff like that. You know?
Oh yeah, that was the big thing. He had his own theme song.
And you know, Cusco, I say this with a lot of heart. He's my favorite Disney princess.
He is your favorite.
He is my favorite Disney princess.
Self-centered, kind of a jerk. Yeah.
Nice.
My older brother really liked the movie, and I didn't really get it. But I need to go back and watch it.
Definitely watch
As
it
an
again.
adult, you need to go back and rewatch it.
I think this next movie is when it started to turn the edge for me as far as like now it was cool to like Disney stuff, and this one is
It's always been cool, bro.
no, I meant
Welcome to the wagon, my friend.
Yeah.
I got off and then I got back on. Was Lilo and Stitch, and this happened probably when I was about graduating high school.
Yeah, it was
so it was
like-
cool to like you were confident enough. You went through high school. You know, you figured out yourself, sort of. I'm still trying to figure it out. But Lilo and Stitch was like, I remember going to the movie theater and like, oh, this is funny. This is cool again. It's cool to like Disney. It was awesome. It was a lot of fun and it was weird. It was definitely, that's one of the first Disney movies that didn't feel like, I don't know, it doesn't
Kind
have
of traditional princess.
Yeah, and it's just kind of strange.
Damsel in distress kind of thing.
The thing that I love about this movie is just kind of like, I don't know if I want to call it the theme, but it's kind of like the underlining story of it is that you know, the older sister, she loves Lilo so much that she buys into all these crazy things that Lilo comes up with and totally supports that idea and is working so hard so that she can be with her sister. And like now as an adult, I'm like, that is so cute. Oh my God. But yeah, I remember going to watch that with a bunch of my friends in high school, and we went to that United Artists, the one that we just went to
Yeah, to go
today.
see the
See, I
Yeah.
probably took your ticket because I worked at
Maybe.
that
Yeah, we were
movie
talking about
theater
that earlier
Maybe,
today.
yeah.
during that movie coming out, and I never saw it, but I remember ripping people's
Probably.
tickets to go see it.
We joked
Probably.
about this when we went to we probably all ran into each other at some,
Not
because
me.
we all went, no, because you
Well-
went to that movie theater a lot.
No, when I lived here before, but I was raised in California at this
Oh,
time,
okay.
so.
Well,
I'm
maybe
saying,
not you, but
'cause
us
I used
three.
to, yeah, hang out in that area a lot, so.
Yeah, that movie theater has a lot of great memories for me. that was like one of my funnest jobs ever. It was awesome.
Like I said, I just remember it would be Friday morning because you guys would get to watch the new movies like Thursday at like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah,
and
once
then you would come to
everything
class
closed.
on Friday morning and just be zonked, like just be
we would
dead.
just sleep. I remember my teachers were actually relatively cool about it because I would just lay my head down and go to sleep in the front row. Like I wasn't even like in the back
No
of
shame,
the class.
no shame.
I was just like, yep, let me know. I remember my notes would just be like, I'd write like 3 words and it'd just be a scribble down the page.
So some of my work notes
Like
look
in Monty Python where they were like, like, you really write? You do. I did. I really wrote as I passed out.
What I loved about this movie was the music was amazing. I must have listened to that soundtrack over and over and over and over again. And of course, Lilo is a little feisty. She's a little spicy.
Yeah, she is.
Of course, when we saw that movie, all my friends were like, "Oh my God, that's you."
Again, brown.
And she gets into a fight, you know, with another little girl. They're like, "Oh my God, that's Sara."
At least they didn't call you Stitch. That would-
That's true. Yeah, it could have been worse, I
Yeah.
guess.
Have you guys been to the like Lilo and Stitch ride? Of course you have, I'm sure. The Disneyland.
At the
It's
Magic
like-
Kingdom or the one at Disneyland? What was the one at Disneyland?
I guess it'd be at Disney World. I haven't been to Disneyland in a while. Yeah, Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
It's like they used to have it. It was like an alien, and now they just like revamped it all into Lilo and Stitch. It's,
Yeah.
it's kind
They
of
do that with everything.
Stitch's Great Escape.
yes, that's what it's called.
They did that with the submarine. They put Finding Nemo in it.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
haven't
it's
been
just
to
funny
Disneyland.
because it's just like, do we have anything that's slightly close to what we?
right. Yeah.
Yeah, just brand it with that stuff in it.
It's kind of fun to watch. That.
Of course. The next movie that I wanted to talk about, this is where it felt, well, a couple things. One is that I cared about those action movies. I wanted a big action movie, and then Disney started to go back and start doing, they always did live action, but this felt like the beginning of the renaissance of those live action Disney movies, and that's Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. So the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. And we always joke about this with your brother because he says it's the perfect movie, like objectively, and we always argue with him because it's not the perfect movie, but whatever. With that being aside, I think someone used to joke about, like, they took a crappy ride and made it into an awesome movie.
Not necessarily crappy ride, but the ride doesn't really have a story.
Offensive.
But yeah.
Offensive.
No, but I'm saying, okay, when Walt created like the Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean, it was supposed to be
this is going to be the perfect ride that Eddie Murphy is going to be in a movie one
Yeah,
day.
Eddie Murphy's gonna ruin.
No, I think
Doing this for him.
It was supposed to be a walking museum, right?
Yeah.
The idea is that you move through this museum, and everybody, loves pirates and loves ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting that they took that, and of course the movie is about pirates, and they just they call it Pirates of the Caribbean, but they show like 2 or 3 things that are like, that's how you know. The dog with the keys is of course one. The ladies running around the burning tower, by the way, in that ride, everything's on fire. Did you notice that?
Because they're shooting cannons at it.
Yeah. They're
it's just-
pillaging. They're not going to do it nicely. They're not going to, just shut the door nicely
Right.
and close the windows.
Let's put this fire out before it gets out of hand.
But I just
They're auctioning off women in that ride.
yeah.
Not anymore. Now they've revamped it.
No,
all.
they do. They
It's
still do.
like
They still do.
Show us your arbor side. They do it.
Yeah.
We want
There's
the
like-
redhead.
I know, but the old ones where there was like guys chasing the women.
Yeah.
Now they're like holding a treasure chest or something.
No, they're
when
still there.
running around.
No, now it's the
not
women
same.
chasing the men.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it's men
okay,
chasing
okay.
men, and then there's like I said, they like put something in their hand so it
Yeah.
doesn't look like they're
Yeah.
less raping.
And
more
now they.
pillaging.
I was like, can we get nope? There you go.
The movie was good though. It was the first of like the first time they partnered with Bruckheimer, right?
Yeah,
The big
Jerry
action
Bruckheimer.
movies. Yeah.
No, but it's a great movie. Like it's a fun movie. It's I love the part with he's fighting Orlando Bloom's character, and then he like throws dirt or something in his eyes. He's like, hey, you can't do that. He's like, pirate.
You're right.
Like
right.
no rules. Like it was so good, and it's just it sucks that those movies and they
Just like everything else, they
drove it
ground.
into the ground because the second one was okay. It was the David Jones Laka. I can't understand anything that they're saying.
Bloody Jack is closer than you think.
Yeah.
But then, of course, they're still making them, right?
Yeah, the
I
second
know.
one's
I
coming out
don't
in
understand
2017.
why.
They make money. They make a ton of
love
money.
that franchise. I love Pirates. Pirates of the Caribbean is one of my favorite attractions of all time. And I love Johnny Depp. I have since I first saw Edward Scissorhands. And
Yeah.
like, I thought he is Jack Sparrow, and Jack Sparrow is amazing. But I don't understand why they're making another movie. Just
Because
leave
they
it.
can.
That
'cause,
makes
like,
a lot of
it's
money.
pretty
Let it
money.
die. Johnny
They
just
took a
let it
page
die.
out of Star Wars book. They're like, well, what? We could keep making these? All right.
Well, it's funny because like you see the 3, right? You have the 3 first movies, and then the third one really sucked.
Yeah.
But it didn't make
It was
a lot
just
of money.
too bloated, yeah.
Yeah, it was too much, and then they took a break, and then they did On Stranger Tides, and I think they were hoping like, okay, let's do
Reboot
another
it.
trilogy, but then that movie didn't do very well critically.
Right.
So now they were doing a few more years. Now we're going to get a 5th one. I forgot what it's called.
It could be good. I mean, I think that character's great. Like, it's fun. That character is so much fun, Jack Sparrow. But yeah, funny thing, I think I was reading this that Johnny Depp every once in a while, if you're on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride,
Yeah, he pops in.
he'll come in costume and like,
I've said that too. Yeah. Like,
That's
I'm
crazy.
like-
How cool
I'm
is
always
that?
like looking like for an extra one. Like,
hey, you got to count them off.
So you
yeah,
can jump on him.
basically.
But again, this is obviously a huge success. I think this set records at the time for opening weekend.
Probably. Yeah.
But again, shows there was a little bit of a dip in the animation department as far as
Yeah, because this was kind
success.
of like towards the time when Pixar was becoming a bigger name, and
a lot of direct to DVD stuff.
yeah,
Right?
so other animation studios, their other competitors were really starting to match what Disney was doing, so it was a little bit tougher competition. So
And at this time, Disney did own Pixar, right? Or they were
This is
contracted
before.
with them? 'Cause
They had
I
they
think
were
Contracts with
contracted with
so.
them.
Toy Story and Nemo, we're not talking about these, but those were the money pulls at these times.
Yeah, but they were sharing those profits. I'm sure quite a
Yeah.
bit of the
Oh,
profit.
I'm sure they are, but I'm just saying, like, finding the Disney movie of that little era right then was like Finding Nemo, and they didn't have anything else.
That didn't come till much later.
Plus,
though.
they don't want to really.
Toy Story though, but yeah.
Toy Story was like 99, wasn't it? And then
97.
yeah,
Finding
Toy
Nemo
Story
was like
96,
2001, 2002. What time? When was
Actually, he's right. Finding Nemo came out like the same year as Pirates of the Caribbean.
What? I was right.
really?
Holy shit! Sorry,
But
yeah.
the movie that I was going to say that gets lost in this shuffle of like the animation studio, a good movie that's kind of lost in this bad time for Walt Disney Animation Studios is Brother Bear. It's a good movie. Have
I
you
actually
seen?
liked Brother Bear a
It's
lot.
a good movie, but it's kind of, it feels like it's that labeled like, oh, it's during that bad time when Walt Disney Animation was trying to figure it out, because it was almost like Pixar was so great that like traditional animation is like, oh, that's old. Like do the Toy Story style.
Yeah.
Right,
3D
right.
animation stuff.
And also, I mean, I don't know if they really wanted to compete with their other. I mean, yes, they were having to split the profits, but are you going to come out with another masterpiece the same time as Finding Nemo? I mean, why would you? You just wait another couple years to come out with it.
Save some money.
But yeah, they figured it out. I mean, they started putting out, and then again, I think these movies suffered from oh, this is the non-Pixar movie. You know what I mean? Like, and we actually do that. Oh, that's the one that's not Disney. You know what I mean? Quote unquote Disney. And the next one that was kind of a success for them was Chicken Little. I love Chicken Little.
I love Chicken Little.
Sarah loves her some Chicken Little. I don't even like the movie that much. It's all right.
When I lived in Florida, I spent 8 months going around trading pins with cast members so I could get the full Chicken Little set. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I like Fish Out of Water to me is just, he's a hilarious character. Again, another side character that I super love, but just the little jokes that they make about, you know, being different species. And we'll get into that later with the other movie we saw today. And I don't know. I think that movie's hilarious. I love it.
It is good. And it's weird because they had to strike a balance between not looking too CGI, but they were using computer graphics. So they had to find like their style. You know what I mean? Because you
differentiate from Pixar.
Yeah, because if you get too close to Pixar, then it's like, well, is this a Pixar movie or is this not a Pixar movie? So, and then I think they started to perfect as far as storytelling as well as the animation style with the next one, which was Meet the Robinsons. Have you seen this?
No.
That's another very underrated Disney movie.
It's fantastic.
Love
really
that
good.
movie.
The message on the movie is maybe a little tear. But the T-Rex, it's hilarious. The guy in the bowler hat guy, it's funny. The story's really good. There's a little couple twists and stuff in it.
Yeah, it plays
really
with
good, solid
time
movie.
travel. It's got some really interesting components. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out.
Yes.
Very underrated.
Why have you not seen it yet?
I think,
Get on
what
this.
years were these? I think this was hit in 2004, 2005.
We've jumped a little bit. We're at about 2005, 2007 area
So
time.
we were all in college, so you guys should have been
No
doing
shame.
other
I wasn't.
things.
No shame.
I had plenty of time to watch these movies.
Yeah, we went to go see Meet the Robinsons together.
Yeah, we saw it in the theater, yeah.
Damn, that was forever ago. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's crazy when I see these dates. I'm like, it's that old? Oh man, like that movie's 20 years old.
Yeah, I remember
Meet the Robinsons.
The reason I remember
Oh,
the
shut
year,
up, David.
Yeah, I know.
the year with Finding Nemo is because I won't.
Oh, I'm sorry, 10 years. Why am
Yeah,
I
I was
saying
gonna say,
20
you
years?
said 2007, right?
I know. Sorry.
40. No,
Still 10 years is nuts.
me and Kyle went on a date to go see Finding Nemo together.
Did you really?
It
That's
was just
so
me and him,
cute.
yeah. Well, it was just like, well, I got free in the movies.
Right.
And he wanted to see the movie, and I wanted to see it. And we were like, we didn't have girls to take with us. So we were like, hey, man.
The real question, did you guys do the seat in between you, or did you guys literally sit next to each other?
We held hands.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, Meet the Robinsons. I love it because they play off of a Walt Disney quote, which is "keep moving forward," and that's the whole theme of the movie. And I just thought that was super cool that they did that. They were able to, you know, kind of bring it back to Walt
They brought
Disney.
in what's his face? It's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Isn't that in this?
No,
I thought it was.
no, but
Very
they have
beginning of the
Space
movie.
Mountain in it. Though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Well, that's the thing. I think it's interesting to see this transition when Pixar came on because Walt Disney Animation, which used to be the A team, is now the B team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so they were trying to find their, and these are good movies. It's
I
just they
think
got
this
overshadowed.
was at the time when Walt Disney Animation was like, okay, we wanna get back in, let us back in, like trying to like weasel the way through. Because I remember it being a big deal at the Meet the Robinsons that they did the little Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, it was
at
like
the
Walt
beginning.
Disney or his
Walt Disney Animation. So this was supposed
Right,
to be
because they would do the
supposed to be-
shorts, right?
And is Lasseter in charge at this point?
Huh?
Is Lasseter in charge? At
Oh
this
yeah,
point?
Lasseter he's about 2000, 2001 is when Lasseter comes in. So
Yeah, he's the one who came in and said, like, listen, we're going to stop doing direct-to-DVD crap
no, that
sequels.
was
I thought you said
no.
Iger.
I'm thinking of Iger. Yes.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
Iger came in. They were still making direct to DVDs at this
when
point.
Lasseter came in. But I think Lasseter came in around the Meet the
No.
Robinsons time before that, right?
I think a little bit after. I think like
Okay.
2000.
But yeah, there was a big push to try to move away from just putting out
Little
anything.
Mermaid 4.
Right, like get rid of the shovel crap. Yeah, but then the movie of the last of before the 2010s, the aughts, or no, what do they call it? The aughts. What do we call the 2010 era? The 10s? Because we call it the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s, right? Do we call it the 10s?
Like
The teens?
The teens? Okay. Before the 2010s, the last movie that was released was kind of trying to push back to hand-drawn animation, traditional, a lot of music was The Princess and the Frog.
Yeah.
Which is a really good movie.
It
and
is.
It sucked
really
because
is.
like I thought it was going to start that resurgence, like you said, about traditional 2D musical movies, but this is the only one they did. But they did keep with the musical format, just not the hand-drawn 2D
It's
stuff.
a really, like I said, it's a good movie. I love the music. It's got that,
Louisiana
New Orleans. It's cool. It's got like the voodoo stuff going on in it. It's very, very thematic. But I think this was not going to solve the problem, right? It was like, that wasn't the problem. I think it had more to do with the fact that like Pixar was so good. Like every single Pixar movie is fantastic. And not just from an animation standpoint, storytelling, character development, making you care about the interactions between the side characters and the main character, the small little adventures that they would go on, and then filling out the main adventure of the movie. it's amazing, the storytelling. And the story is like all those guys, not to talk too much about Pixar, like came up with like most of those ideas at one sitting.
Yep.
They all sat down and like, yeah, I want to make this movie. And it's just like, how dare you have such good ideas that you could just throw out?
How dare
like,
you, sir?
Yeah, it's like Walt had to spend his mortgage and like his whole life trying to create all this stuff. And you're like, yeah, we've got like 5 of the best movies ever sitting right here. It's like, how dare you?
We were laughing. I don't remember if this was actually on a podcast or not, but we were talking about how they wouldn't do Toy Story 4 unless it was worth doing.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, how about you just don't do any movie unless it's worth doing?
Exactly.
Like, that should be your motto for every single movie going forward.
Just make movies that are worth
Just
making.
make movies that are worth doing.
What oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, Princess and the Frog, like, I thought it was like a big return to resurgence, but I think at that point, maybe kids, because I don't think it did very well domestically, like gross.
No, it didn't.
And I just think at that point, kids moved on from 2D stuff. They wanted the 3D, they wanted the characters jumping, they wanted the like 3D glasses and all that kind of stuff, where 2D just wasn't where it was at. I enjoyed it. But
the other thing is, it wasn't
like
far enough away to make nostalgia a big seller. Because like I feel like if that movie came out now with us, with our audience,
right.
We've been talking about the fact that they're making things for people in their 30s more for that nostalgic factor. It would hit really hard because everybody's like, oh, they're back to that. But it was like just long enough ago where we weren't really into that nostalgia phase.
Right.
Yeah,
So the people who
Maybe.
were nostalgic weren't nostalgic about that, and it wasn't that interesting.
Like I remember we went to go see it because of that nostalgia thing, but to make a good movie, you had to get those kids in too, and if the kids don't want to go see it, then the parents aren't going to go either.
A cool thing about this movie is that Dr. John, he does the music for this, and he's a huge in like kind of in the New Orleans jazz scene. He's been there forever. So I thought that was kind of cool that they brought him. I would have preferred that they got Harry Connick Jr. into this movie because he's from New Orleans. He's like all about that New Orleans music, but they didn't for whatever reason. And also
see him in that movie.
Huh?
I couldn't see him in that
he could
movie.
be one of the characters, but I'm just saying that he should have definitely at least done a song. Like, I don't understand why he didn't, but whatever. I'm not his agent. So, one of the cool things is that, this was the first time this movie had come out, early December 2009. And I got a chance to go see it on the Walt Disney Studios lot.
That's cool.
Where they used to run the dailies. And I was
so cool.
on cloud 9. It was like late at night. So I couldn't really see anything. I remember I was walking through the studio and I was like trying to like look into like the windows, like in the editing room. I was like,
what are you guys doing?
Yeah. And like my friends were like, oh my God, stop. Like, you're embarrassing me. I was like, I have to see what's over there. Like, I have to see it. And like going up like Mickey Drive and Dopey Drive and stuff like that. And I was just like on cloud 9. I couldn't believe it. It was the actual theater where they ran some of the dailies. And I was like, oh my God, did Walt sit here? Oh my God, did he walk through this door? He could have.
That's so awesome. We were talking about what's our favorite Disney character, and you said Walt Disney. It's like, that's
my favorite character.
Okay, let's move on to another live action movie. We'll move a little bit forward here. We'll skip a couple that we highlighted because we're running short on time. But Tron Legacy. You wanted to talk about this.
I love Tron Legacy. Like, so first, I love the first Tron because it was like the first all CG movie of that time.
Yeah, the first computer like animated. Yeah.
Yeah, and Tron Legacy was a good formula. I like the story. They brought back weird CG. What's his face? Clue. Jeff Bridges. Yeah, weird
Jeff
CG
Bridges.
Jeff Bridges. Yeah,
I just call him Jeff.
So when you we're on first name basis. Yeah. So like rewatching this movie now, it's like, man, they should have waited a couple of years because like that CG is
they can do it really well now.
Yeah, but they can.
No,
I thought you were being sarcastic.
No, they can do it.
No, they can do it really well
compared to just a few years ago.
Yeah, because you go back and you watch like The Matrix. Like, there's a bunch of scenes where it just looks bad, but now they've perfected it.
But you could, and Tron, it's not too bad because it's like, well, you're in a computer,
right,
so you can kind of sell that. And I was really excited where the story goes because they left it completely open ended. And then they were supposed to do another one.
It just didn't do well.
And then it didn't do well money wise.
Yeah, the thing. So we were in Disneyland when this movie was being promoted and when it was about to come out, and so they did a big fireworks show, and they did like where they shoot the water up and then they project an image on it, and they're showing the scenes and the light cycles and stuff like that. And then a whole section of this area they rebuilt Flynn's arcade.
Yep. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And I went in there and they had all the old arcade games. It was the coolest thing. Like, I remember
had special coins on it.
Yeah,
so okay, I still have one somewhere.
We, me and my cousin Brandon, we walked up and he put the quarter up on the. He's like, I got next. He's like, but we got to hurry because my mom's gonna pick me up here pretty soon. It was just super cool. And he's like, we went up to play track and field. He's like, hey, do you have a pencil on you? Because we used to cheat. That's how you do the. You had to hit the two buttons very fast. It was so cool. It was so awesome playing like Road Blaster and all that stuff. It's just like.
And they had games from Tron too, like the light cycle. They
Yeah.
had a game about that and all that kind of stuff too. But it was really good. Sad to see the franchise die. I mean, I'm sure they're
all
going to pick it
Daft
up one of
Punk's
these years.
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah.
They'll reboot it. Give it 15
Yeah, that's what
years.
I'm saying. They'll bring it back eventually. It's just sad
And
to
they'll
not
have the
seeing this current
CGI.
storyline.
They'll have the CGI at that time to do it. It's funny though. I was watching The Flash, and I know you guys don't watch it,
Yeah.
but the CGI in that is like
Better.
the CGI from it's like almost exactly the same from movies like 5 years ago.
Right.
But it's like I was like, that's how bad
It's
it
low
was. They're
budget.
using it for TV shows now.
Yeah,
Like,
it's low
On the
budget.
CW too.
It's on clearance,
Yeah.
okay?
The next one I want to talk about, and we'll kind of wrap this. I know you want to talk about some of the older ones too. Is speaking of reboots, they went back and remade the Muppets movie with Jason Segel.
Yep, Jason Segel, Amy Adams, is that her name?
Right, because they had all the great ones,
Muppet Treasure Island. is the
Yeah,
best
and then
one.
the Christmas
Yeah.
Carol. They were all great. The question I had is, did Disney always own Jim Henson's, or was it acquired later, or do you even know?
Funny story. So in 1990, Disney was working with Jim Henson. They were integrating a lot at this point. There was a Muppets, like a person dressed in like a Kermit suit, like type of show at the MGM studios.
Okay.
There was even a TV special, The Muppets Go to Walt Disney World. Like they were like intertwined. They had the dinosaur show on TGIF, which was
right.
from Jim Henson
Not the
Company.
Mama.
Not the Mama. So they were intertwined a lot. And then literally, like, I think a day, I know this is stupid, but it's either a day or a month before, no, it's the day before they were supposed to sign the contract to sell the Muppets to Disney. Jim Henson died. So
Yikes.
looks
they were
shady.
kind of like, yeah, so Disney was just like, "Ooh, let's just keep working with them, but we'll talk about it at a later time." And then, I think maybe sometime in the 2000s is when they made it, official, Disney official.
They bought Jim
Yeah.
Henson.
So, with this resurgence of the movie that came out with, Jason Segel, they had seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and they really liked it for whatever reason. But
That's a great movie. What do you mean for whatever reason?
no, they saw him and they thought like, okay, well, that show that he does at the end, they had a lot of faith in him for whatever reason. So he went into
Jason
a meeting
Segel
with them.
was a big fan too, right?
Yeah, Jason Segel was a huge fan. So they had a meeting with him. They had a meeting with him like, shortly after that, and they were kind of throwing out ideas, like they wanted him to make a movie for them.
Right.
And so he was like, well, what are you guys doing with the Muppets? And they were like, we don't want to bring that back. And he was like, what? Why wouldn't you want to?
Right.
He's like, people love the Muppets. He's like, let's do something with them. And they were kind of like really hesitant about it, which I think you can tell a lot from the company, but they were really hesitant about it. And so finally they kind of gave in to him. They're like, okay, well, you can, if you come up with something good enough, maybe
Right.
we'll see.
And I love
We'll
that
see.
they went and got the music. The guy who wrote the music is from Flight of the Conchords.
Yeah,
Brit. But yeah, it feels, this is what you were talking about. I think this is where that sweet spot when we started to feel that nostalgia, like of
Yeah.
and not to say that Muppets are like ours, because they were out way before we were kids, but I think
Kermit
that
has always been mine, first and foremost.
but Muppet Babies
Babies was
specifically is what got us into that specifically.
It's a great movie though, but then you could see like it obviously made a bunch of money, but a bunch of money. So they're like, well, we're obviously going to do a sequel,
Right.
But then they rushed the sequel, and you got Muppets Most Wanted, which was the biggest pile of garbage ever. Ran
Which
the
is sad because
franchise
I
to the
love
ground.
Tina Fey. I love Ricky Gervais. Those two are like my comedian. Like
They didn't have the core
heroes.
people though. It was just a really bad movie. And now they have the Muppets, the Muppets on ABC. It's a really good show. You
Go
could
watch it.
Yeah, go watch it. The second half of the first season is definitely better than the first. The writing. And
I like
everything.
it all.
It's-
It doesn't
Hopefully
matter to
it'll
me.
keep going though. It's funny.
It's The Office meets The Muppets. It's
Yeah.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
But it has a lot of the adult humor that the Muppets has. So it's not just for kids, obviously.
So
It's on
I
the
think
prime
at this
time
point
spot.
the company is just kind of like, you know what, like the Muppets were not originally intended for children anyways. Let's just kind of keep them to a more adult audience. And
Right.
Right.
the show that came out has never even been marketed to kids to begin with.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I
But
don't
I was
think
going to
so.
say, there's a funny scene in the new Muppet movie with Jason Segel where, the character Walt, that's the main character's name, he wakes up and he was so obsessed with the Muppets, and he's got like all this like Muppets memorabilia behind him on his wall. And I literally saw that and I was like, oh my God, I have like half of that stuff. That's me. Oh my God.
Oh man.
So, yeah.
Again, another movie, another animated movie from Walt Disney Animation Studios that felt like right in the sweet spot of our nostalgia was Wreck-It Ralph. Right?
Oh, we watched
Yeah.
that. We watched that last night.
That
too?
was great.
That movie is
Great movie.
fantastic, man. I love that
That one
movie.
doesn't fall. I assumed it fell into the Pixar.
No, that is, and that's what I'm saying is
animation.
I think they, at this point, and they had Tangled, and I didn't go over that, but it felt like this is like the one where they're like, you know what? can't beat them, like kind of join them, like kind of do what
Tangled
they did.
was the first one, I think, right?
No, I know, but I'm saying Tangled was before, but I'm saying this felt more Pixar-y than the other movies. And that's just because of the inclusion, I think, of more 3D animation. But I absolutely love this. I don't know how they got all those licensing rights to include like
Bowser. Bison.
Yeah, like that could cost
Pac-Man.
a lot of money. Like if
Hubert.
if I'm Nintendo, I'm like, yeah, pay some coin, no pun intended, for Bowser. Ding! That's the coin sound.
I thought I
Yeah.
read somewhere that they wanted Mario, but they couldn't get him. Like
They reference him in the
They wouldn't let him.
movie, but they don't actually.
They wouldn't
show him.
actually show him.
It's funny because I don't play video games. I never have, but Gerald,
I
he had
disagree.
to. What?
You play video games. It's just what you consider the terminology of video game. You play Thought Bubbles. Is that not a game?
Solitaire.
That's a
Church
video
Girl.
game.
Solitaire?
That's a video game.
But
go
no,
ahead.
I don't play
I digress.
I never played the traditional ones that you guys grew up with.
Yeah.
So we're watching the movie and Gerald had to be like, oh, he's from this game. Oh,
That's
he's
from
from
Street
that
Fighter.
game.
That's from
Oh,
Mario.
This is a character from that game. And I was like,
Dr.
okay, cool.
Robotnik's from
My
Sonic.
favorite character is Satan. So I don't know. Like,
Not the bad guys.
yeah.
Well, I think enough of there's parts of that they talk about genres of games, like the war game when they're in that battlefield, and then there's the candy racing game. Like you don't have to like video games to know genres of video games, and they do a really good job of. I was impressed of how well Sarah Silverman was in it, because I was like, oh man, like
Yeah, she did
some
good.
people, it's like Amy Schumer. Some people love her, some people hate her. I'm not a big fan of Sarah Silverman. I like some of her stuff, but she's kind of, I don't know.
Her
but she
voice
did,
fit nice, though. It wasn't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
her humor anyway. She's just doing lines.
No, I know. Okay, and then of course the next gigantic, and this is probably the resurgence of that Walt Disney Studio animation studio, is Frozen. Right, Frozen is massive. Now here's the deal. Little confession. I've only seen the first 10 minutes of Frozen.
What?
Shame.
So I
Frozen
can't.
is excellent.
Shame
Frozen is
on your
super
family. Shame on your cow.
Now let me.
It's Mulan reference.
Mulan.
I got it. I watched the first 10 minutes, and I watched the scene where she obviously accidentally hurts her sister, and then they go and they get her sister, saved or whatever, but she's like, oh, she won't have any memories. And then her dad's like, okay, I have an idea. We'll lock her in the tower and no one will see her. I'm like, wow. Like, that was your first option and only? Like, you couldn't
Not
have...
just that, and they teach her like.
I don't ruin it.
All right, that's what. but they teach Elsa, right? They teach her like just hide your problems away.
Yeah.
Put on these gloves.
That's it.
Don't tell anybody about it. It's like the worst message. But obviously, by the end of the movie,
I know, but it's
she
just
goes
like this-
against all that.
Have you guys seen the YouTube video that goes over this, like with the alternate endings? Oh, there's like they go over that same thing. They're like, "Oh, okay, I got an idea. Hide her, no let her touch."
That's
Oh,
like...
how it
He's
should
like,
have
"No,
ended,
that's
right?
totally not what I was saying. I'm saying give her love and like let her experiment." There's that. They're like, "No, we're locking her in the dungeon."
Oh, when they go see the trolls, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we have this castle. I mean, I thought that's what you're supposed to do with kids, is lock them in the castle, right?
And then Professor X rolls up and he's like, "I have a
Yeah.
stool for you."
I low-key love this movie. Like,
You don't want to say you love this movie
I
because like
know.
obviously everyone loves it, but
No, it's a good movie. I mean, it shows that I think this proves again, and it always feels like it's this cycle, right? Of like, new kids love Walt Disney animation. This is because we went and saw, like, we were gonna go watch Frozen the show at Disneyland, and it was like, if you get in line now and it's like 1:00, you can watch the 7 p.m. showing.
Yeah, it's
maybe.
like a 2-hour wait just to meet one of the to meet Princess Anna or
sorry,
Elsa.
Anna.
So it's good. It's good to have that, because it kickstarts everything again, and it lets them take some risks. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
if you're Walt Disney Animation Studio, like, we got to make, Pirates of the Caribbean or whatever. You got to keep pumping out the same things over and over, and then this allows you to.
now they're
I'm
gonna
sure
pump
there'll
out
be a
Frozen,
Frozen
movie.
too.
They're already
Frozen
working on it.
Yeah, they're working on it.
I actually like Frozen a lot. I'm always about the soundtracks. I like this music part.
Yeah, it's a really good
And,
soundtrack.
Frozen has like 2 CDs, and the second one is just like stuff that didn't make the actual movie. It's like hit the edit bait, and I like some of those songs better than I like the main movie.
Yeah.
I play them for my girls all the time.
Yeah, it's really good. It kind of brings back the form of good animation and good music as well.
Yeah, and I think kids like that. It's weird, because remember we were like, get rid of the music. It's just, like I said, you can tell one just going through these movies, like these different, like, it always felt like they hired a marketing team and then they fired the marketing team and hired the old one.
Right.
It's like, no, kids don't like music, and then go get Johnson. He'll tell us again. And then it's like, okay, yeah, no music. Kids hate that crap. We'll sell lots of merchandise.
Merchandising.
And they
real
did, and they are.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, so much. And that's actually that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. Yeah, exactly. No.
My dog has that. It's a dog toy.
But
Well, yeah.
the I went because I went back and I was looking after I watched that documentary. I wanted to see like how is Disney broken up currently, and they have Lucasfilms, which is separate. They have Marvel Studios, which is separate. They have they have
Marvel, right? Didn't they buy Marvel or just Marvel Studios?
The studios. Well, that's the division underneath Disney,
gotcha.
and then you have obviously Walt Disney Animation Studios, and then you have a whole separate section just for like their stores and merchandising, and it's I think it's the most employed or one of the highest employed.
Of course, yeah.
It's just like so much stuff to buy. So much stuff. They have over like 300 stores now, the Walt Disney stores. We went on a Black Friday once. Don't make that mistake, folks. Do not go to the Disney store on Black Friday. Bad idea. Is there any other ones you wanted to talk about before we wrap it up?
I was going to say Big Hero 6 is a big deal just because it was their first collaboration between Marvel and Walt Disney Studios. Really good movie. Go see it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Have you not?
I actually did not.
It's funny. It's a superhero movie, bro.
I know. There's certain times just busy.
I thought I
have
wouldn't
it
like
at
it,
home,
but
I
it's a good one. You should watch it.
It's cute.
You
It's
would
a
really
good
like
movie,
it.
Other than
Stan Lee's in
that,
it.
Yeah, let's
I
wrap
just
it
wanna
up with
say
the
real
most current
quick,
one.
You
Go
didn't
ahead.
hit Newsies, which I love. Newsies is fantastic, incredible musical live action movie that came out in the early 90s. Totally fits this. I know
Christian
every
Bale's in that
word.
too, right?
Yes, he was.
oh my god.
It
Go
is the
watch it. It's
best
hilarious.
movie. I really love that movie. Me and my cousins. My grandmother was a music teacher, and she played it for us because she wanted
Do you
to
have the
show.
hats?
Because like guys, she would play it for kids in class and be like, musicals aren't just for women. Like guys play, and it's all just dudes singing through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic, and we all would just dance around. Yeah.
We should do a cut, some cut of you
Call it to
dancing.
Yes, that'd be amazing.
We'll have you
Yeah.
reenact all these.
That's great. Goofy movie wasn't brought up. Fantastic. Goofy
Oh, I did skip
is like
that. I'm
one
sorry.
of my favorite characters in Disney of all time.
Max or whatever.
Max, but Goofy, his dad's I just love Goofy in
Oh.
general. But that whole movie was fantastic. And there was another one you forgot, and I forgot. But
Well, you don't love it that much if you forgot it.
That's a good point. Good point.
yeah. But anyways, those two for sure.
But we're going to wrap it up with the most recent Walt Disney animation movie that isn't Pixar, is Zootopia. We just literally watched it just a few hours ago. Let's kind of talk about what it is if people don't know, which you should know. Disney does a good job of making
Animated
sure.
movie by
If
Disney.
you know
that
this
came out
podcast,
weekend.
if our podcast and Disney knowledge doesn't somehow cross mix, it's crazy. It'd be weird. It'd be like, I love podcasts, but I don't know anything about Disney. Anyways,
I don't think you could speak English and not know anything about Disney.
well, I think they said like the three circles, the Mickey Mouse, the circle, like that's known. Or if you draw that anywhere in the world, people will be like Mickey Mouse.
Right.
Like, it's pretty cool. So yeah, we went and saw Zootopia. It is a movie. It has actually a really interesting message of like inclusion and everyone's different, but you can be anything you want to be. I mean, it's traditional Disney stuff, but they do it in it's a very deep message.
Definitely fitting for the current times.
Yeah. It talks about like not preying on people's fears of like their biases and their internal prejudices. Again, these are some like
They say in the movie like it's their biology. That's just they're predetermined to be like that, and this teaches you that it's not about that. These people can change.
right. And so it takes the main character is this a girl who's a bunny, and she wants to become a cop. And I was like, "There's no such thing as a bunny cop." At first, I thought they said a buddy cop, and I was like, "There's lots of buddy cop movies. Like, what are you talking about?"
Every cop movie's a buddy cop movie.
But there are some jokes, like, you know how we always talk about they have adult humor? Like, there were specific parts where, like, only the four of us were dying laughing
Yeah.
and no kids were laughing. And I remember as a kid, when adults would laugh, I would just immediately start laughing.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, start laughing,
Yeah,
kid.
pick up the
This
cue.
is funny. Well, they know that now. Like, obviously, the kids are they're gonna drive their parents to this movie.
Yeah.
But they know, like, the parents aren't gonna be like, "Oh, I'm just not in the DreamWorks movie where it's just for kids," right? So they gotta include jokes that only the adults would get
Yeah.
to keep them there and entertained. There's a Breaking Bad joke in this.
Oh, that
There's-
Breaking Bad joke is
this
pretty good.
hilarious.
They make a ton of, like, jokes that no kid would get. And the animation style is fantastic.
all
It
the
looks,
hair, all the fur and stuff.
yeah, it looks beautiful.
Top notch.
The main area of this place is called Zootopia, and they have all the different types of animals living there. Essentially, the animals have become so civilized that they stop becoming prey and predator. They start living in harmony, but not really in harmony. There's each area of this Zootopia
different,
area.
like, biomes.
Yeah, it's like tundra land and rainforest
Sahara,
area.
yeah.
So it was really cool to see that universe. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like, I want to see more movies in this universe. Like, they did a good job of creating something larger than just this one simple narrative. I think they've done a good job of casting the voice actors. It's fantastic.
Jason Bateman as the other lead character.
Love
of Fox.
him.
Yeah, he was very, very good.
So I want to kind of want to talk about connection between Arrested Development, this movie, and Frozen.
Okay.
In another way, actually. So obviously, Jason Bateman plays Michael, Arrested Development, and he plays the voice of Nick Wilde, one of the main characters in this movie.
yeah,
And then there's
Zootopia.
Alan Tudyk, who's character is named Duke Weaselton.
Oh, okay.
And
Frozen,
in
right?
Frozen, his character is Duke of Weselton. So, and then he also, when he's dancing with Princess Anna, he does this little, one of the chicken dances.
Oh.
So I love that. Like, that
I
there's
almost
these
think like
little connections.
I didn't know about the character names. I almost think that's just like an inside Disney animation thing. Like it's the same guy. Let's just name the characters kind of the same.
No, but I
You're
think
boring.
I do enjoy that they do, because they used to make jokes like that. There was stuff that like you wouldn't unless you.
Rewatched it or knew like inside kind of stuff.
And they make, like I said, there's a ton of there's actually a lot of jokes about Disney in this movie. Like they make a lot of fourth wall, like not fourth wall breaking, but they meta a lot of the movie, which is great. Again, that's totally like up our alley, because that's what we find funny as our generation gets older.
One of the characters says, this isn't just some place where you can sing a song and it'll fix all your problems. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
Jokes like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of them in there. So before we give our what we loved about or didn't like about the movie, got to put out our hands. Standard review. Thumbs up is a great movie. Jordan didn't get a chance to see it.
I'm busy.
Yeah. Thumbs down is a bad movie, and then thumbs in the middle is a good movie. 1, 2, 3.
Obviously, come on.
It was
Go see
a
it.
great movie. I mean, on Rotten Tomatoes, it's like at almost 100%.
Yeah, 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. It broke the Disney animation record of opening weekends. I really like this movie. Were you gonna ask me?
No, go,
Okay,
go,
sorry,
go.
sorry.
Tell me why you like it.
I really like this movie. I like because like it's really practical. So it's like when you're thinking of a bunch of animals living together, they thought of all these weird little different ways of how they can realistically intermingle. So like a bus or a train comes by and they have 3 different sized doors, right? So for the tiniest of animals and for the biggest of animals. So stuff like that. They have like a juice stand and he has like a chute to shoot it up so tall animals can drink. That kind of stuff. It's super smart. The joke, the writing, everything's there. The voice acting's really good. Obviously, we talked about how the animation is top notch.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know how they're going to get, after seeing like Pixar's The Good Dinosaur and after seeing this, like I don't know how animation is going to get any better.
Yeah,
it's just,
that's what we all think. 'Cause
photorealistic.
We thought Aladdin
Yeah.
was so awesome when we watched it. It'll always get better.
I don't know. It's just everything's so photorealistic. It's crazy good.
The thing I love about this movie is that, as a previous cast member,
You're always a cast member, right? Don't you get branded
Sure.
with Disney?
is that one of the directors for Zootopia used to be a guest relations cast member at the
That's
Magic
awesome.
Kingdom back in the early 90s, and he used to give out tours and stuff like that. So I love that he came up from, being
the
a
bottom.
peon,
Probably working
as they were.
$2 an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Especially at that time. He worked his way up to being a director of this fantastic movie. So that's amazing to me. I
And
love
after
that.
like Frozen and Big Hero 6 and all these other Disney animation movies that, have no help from Pixar or whatever, they're just all knocks out of the park, man.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job. I think they're finding their balance. I think it's, you got to figure out what you're going to do, and it's hard to meet the standards of Pixar.
but
it also makes it easier that John Lasseter is the head of animation. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
Right,
I'm sure
he has a little bit of background in
Yeah.
both. He can tell you what's good, what's not. I think for me, the reason that I really enjoyed this movie is that it tells obviously a great story. There are some jokes, like animal jokes, that are so simple. Then I always think like when there's a really good joke, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? That's so simple.
Like, duh.
Like a bunny makes a joke about multiplying.
Yeah.
Like we're really good at she's doing
Yeah.
math, and she's like, we're really good at multiplying. Like that's a great bunny
All the
joke.
adults were laughing, and like there was like no peep from the kids.
Right, there's not a lot of low hanging fruit jokes. There are a few, like fart jokes for kids and stuff like that. But there's definitely like a lot of like higher brow, like funny, ironic humor.
What's like what the lead police guy was just like, oh, you're so cute. It's like, well, actually, we other bunnies can call each other cute. That's like our thing.
Yeah.
You can't call us cute.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Something like that's hilarious.
It's hilarious. So definitely go check it out. Zootopia. It's out now. Zootopia.
Yeah, good movie.
All right, let's wrap up the podcast. This has been our modern Disney. We're gonna do a Pixar one. Don't worry, Pixar fans. John Lasseter.
I'll be back.
Yeah, she'll be back. We can't get rid
I
of her.
think we got one more for you.
Yeah, we have
2 more in the contract. You signed up for 5.
Well, we're gonna
We'll
do
talk about
we're
that
gonna do a
later.
direct to DVD
Yeah,
podcast. It'll just be thrown together. It'll just be like slides of you from older. We'll just use like
Not even video, just pictures.
Yeah, we've
Just
got
like-
enough of your audio now. We can just create you in the post.
exactly. The Pixar movie is great. But yeah, you can check out our podcast if you're listening to it here. Go on YouTube. You can just search Sit Down Standard. You'll find us on there. We do lots of things in addition to the podcast. Now we're reviewing board games, reviewing games, doing unboxing videos, which we unboxed Comic Bento a couple days ago. So check that out if you like comic books and stuff like that. You can always, if you have any questions, comments, or ideas for the show, you can always send us an email at
Sitdownstandard@gmail.com.
Sarah. What's the email?
sitdownstandard@aol.com.
Yeah, on my side. I like it.
You can also follow us on Instagram, on Facebook. You always want to find
Facebook. Yeah, why not? Facebook, it's
Like
very-
us on Facebook, guys.
Yeah, go on to Facebook and give us a.
Those are important, apparently.
Facebook's a big deal.
Thanks, Jordan. Facebook is a big deal. Put
No
that on the
problem.
bottom of the box.
Jordan says. Facebook's a big deal. Endorsement for Facebook right here. I'm not afraid to say it.
Marky Z, pay me some money.
But yeah, you can also follow us on Twitter, and then of course go to our website sitdownstandard.com, or follow us on Twitter so you can see the Q&As that we do before the show and watch our live broadcast of the podcast on Periscope. Till next time, bye.
See you.
Bye.
Later.